9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes. Let's take a look at our top stories this hour. Now it's the unofficial end of summer. Ski resorts have announced their anticipated opening dates, with Brian Head hoping for November 8th. But KSL's Kevin Eubank says it's too early to tell if they will really open by then.
All of those openings and tentative openings are weather conditions permitting.
But he does say the extended outlook is showing good moisture levels this winter for Utah. Park City and Alta, by the way, looking at opening on November 22nd, followed by Snow Basin on the 29th, Sundance and Deer Valley, and this is usual for them, looking at the first week of December. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: a battle could be brewing for control of one of the nation's biggest airlines.
The hedge fund Elliott Investment Management now holds 10% of Southwest Airlines common stock, according to Reuters. That investor group previously has demanded the ouster of the carrier's CEO and its executive chairman. 10% is the threshold that's needed to call an emergency shareholders meeting. CEO Robert Jordan has promised to fight the calls for his removal.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment, not a good day for investors. We're off 436 on the Dow. That's a full percent. Down about 1.5% on the S&P with a loss of 80, and the Nasdaq is down 2.25% right now with a loss of almost 400. Coming up, we'll take a closer look at this forecast and a little bit more of what's anticipated tomorrow. KSL News Time, 9:02. It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Need a ride? Call Utah Transit Authority's referral line. This dedicated phone number is a resource created specifically for individuals with disabilities, aging adults over the age of 60, and veterans who need temporary assistance finding specialized transportation solutions. Simply give us a call at 801-287-2870. Leave your name and phone number, and a UTA representative will get back to you soon. If you're facing ongoing day-to-day transportation challenges, the UTA referral line is here to help. From medical appointments to the grocery store, we're here to get you where you need to go. Please call 801-287-2870. This dedicated phone number is a resource created specifically for individuals with disabilities, aging adults over the age of 60, and veterans who need temporary assistance finding specialized transportation solutions. 801-287-2870. That's 801-287-2870.
Stop paying 5-star pricing for 3-star service. It's time for a change. Welcome to Beehive Plumbing's Premier Experience. With our Beehive Premier plan, you have access to our VIP phone number and website to ensure prompt and reliable plumbing service by an expert 5-star technician. Why Beehive? Our Premier package comes with an industry-leading warranty, giving you up to 10 years of coverage on both parts and labor. Yeah, that's right, 10-year warranty. Call Beehive Plumbing today or visit beehivepremier.com for expert experience every time.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body?
Huh?
That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
As a roofer, I don't have time to fail. Homeowners rely on me, so I rely on Beacon. Beacon's unique network of branches work together to get me what I need when I need it. And with the Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips. Now through September 15th, purchase high-quality GAF with Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Go to BECN.com or download the Beacon Pro Plus app today. Beacon, always building.
At Common Spirit Health, we know that lifelong health and well-being starts with primary care. So we have doctors and providers who see you, hear you, know you, and understand you. Because understanding you means understanding your needs. And that leads to a deeper knowledge of the prevention, wellness, and treatment options that may be best for you. It's primary care that treats your whole family like family. It's primary care with human kindness. Discover all the ways you can find and connect with a primary care provider at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Traffic and weather together again, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon Len Thomas back in the traffic center.
Well, Tim, we're looking at this crash eastbound I-80 at 7th East. It is taking a right lane and a shoulder, slowing traffic from 13th South on your way northbound 15 out of Utah County. The bogging starts at 21st North in Lehi now, all the way up to the accident on the left shoulder at 114 South. And still coming out of Tooele on SR 36 up to the transition to eastbound I-80, a little bit slowing going on there. The Hit the Road Savings event is going on now. Save up to $120 on select Michelin tires now through September 29th after mailing in rebates and instant savings. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
More chances of showers and thunderstorms today. Looks like middle of the day, the best shot. It's still going to be warm, though. We'll reach 90 for a high. Just know that if you find those showers or the showers find you, you might also get microburst winds. Matt telling us earlier this morning could be 40 to 60 mile an hour gusts. Right now it's partly cloudy downtown, 76 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, we have gotten a lot going on around the globe and also, of course, here at home. We know there's protests going on in Israel regarding the hostages, 6 of them, their bodies recovered in Gaza, and a lot of Israelis upset that the Israeli government has not reached a ceasefire deal, Dave, in exchange for hostages.
It's such a difficult scenario because is it get the hostages home at any cost? And that's the struggle that the Israeli government is trying to figure out right now is how to balance this, how to balance the best chance of long-term safety and the short-term success of getting these hostages home. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Well, and here in Utah, specifically in Salt Lake County, there's been growing concern about teenagers behind a rash of gang-related crimes. And the question at hand right now is, should Utah toughen up laws to prosecute adults who recruit children into gangs and then recruit them to, or use them to participate in gang-related shootings, for example? We're going to get Representative Ryan Wilcox joining the show at 9:35 with Capitol Hill's appetite for going after the adults in these cases.
And what we're learning here is that the criminals, they know the laws. They know what they can get away with. And using 12, 13, 14-year-old kids and recruiting them into their gang to commit heinous crimes just because the law goes easier on kids, it absolutely should be a felony, and that's what Utah lawmakers are pushing for.
Countdown to
6 Israeli hostages found dead in Gaza. Protesters in the streets over the lack of a ceasefire deal. One of those hostages was an Israeli American, had immigrated to Israel from California at the age of 7. He was 23 years old. And his parents have really been outspoken, very much keeping hope alive in the public's eye.
We became absolutely certain that you were coming home to us alive, but it was not to be. Now I no longer have to worry about you. I know you are no longer in danger.
And this is such a devastating story. These American hostages, the Israeli hostages that were taken, they've been there for nearly a year now, whether it's in apartments or hidden in tunnels. But the ceasefire deal, there have been many opportunities for a ceasefire deal, and Hamas has rejected all of them. So is this really the fault of the Israeli government for not getting a ceasefire deal done, or Hamas for not accepting the terms?
launch countdown. 1.
Really, really sad news out of Lehi last night when we learned that a child had accidentally shot himself in the head at a gas station in that area. There's a lot we don't know yet about what happened. we do know that our colleagues at KSL TV and KSL.com, and also our colleagues here at KSL News Radio, have been gathering details, and that it appears the child was alone in the car at the time, and that a man nearby relayed this information to KSL5 TV, what he heard from the child's mom as this chaos was unfolding.
And then she goes, he shot himself. And I first thought suicide. And she goes, he found the gun under my seat and pulled the trigger. Apparently it's an accident. It was a total accident.
An accident, devastating. And as a parent, I know this is just the greatest fear and just a terrible story. But children have, and I don't know if this is the case in this instance, but children in general have a great curiosity and a fascination with guns. And Debbie, you and I found some research that has been done about some of the things that can be done to help lessen the curiosity of children and guns.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
And in about 10 minutes from now, we will play you this 1-minute video. A very simply produced 1-minute video that researchers at the Ohio State University experimented with. And they actually got some really pretty amazing results from how kids reacted when they saw a loose gun. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but I want to start with what we know and also what we don't know about this shooting in Lehi. According to police, the shooting happens inside a car parked outside a gas station at a convenience store in Lehi, and a child accidentally shot himself in the head.
And what's so scary about this is it sounds like the mother they'd gone in to get a treat. The child was still in the car, had maybe been rummaging around. We don't know the specific details or what may have caused it, but we think it's an 8-year-old child. So very, very young.
Like I said, there's a lot we don't know, and I want to just touch on some of the details, Dave, that we're trying to understand and get more information on. We don't know specifically, we don't know why the gun was there. We don't know exactly where it was. We don't know, not only do we not know the exact location of the gun, we don't know the purpose of the gun.
Yeah, we don't know if it was for domestic violence. We don't know if it was for protection. We don't know if it was being transported after, an afternoon at the firing range. We don't know any of that. But what we do know is that the gun was there. And however it got there, whatever reason it had for being there, the tragedy happened.
Let's get more details right now from KSL News Radio's Adam Small, who's been tracking this story all morning long for Utah's Morning News.
This happened just after 7:30 last night outside the Maverick at Thanksgiving Point. A witness there tells KSL TV he and another man helped the boy's mom to the curb while others worked to help her son. He says she told him the boy found the gun underneath her seat when they initially came to the store to buy a treat of some kind. He also says he overheard her say her son is 8 years old, though police have not been able to confirm that with us yet.
So what can we do? Because obviously 8 years old is so young. And children, Debbie, I'm going to be honest, even when I was a child, I played with my parents' guns without them knowing, unsupervised, because of the curiosity. And
did you know if they were loaded or unloaded?
No.
You didn't even.
No,
you were so young.
I wasn't that young, Deb.
Oh.
And I was just curious. I knew Mom and Dad had a gun. I knew where they kept it, and I took it out, and I think I handled it, but I didn't have any training. I didn't have a class. I didn't have any sort of adult that walked me through and taken me shooting. I didn't shoot my first gun until I was an adult.
So you were lucky.
So I was lucky. Now, again, I didn't point it at anybody. I was all alone. I didn't point it at myself. I didn't look at the barrel. I knew enough. I was old enough to realize that there were certain precautions that I could take. But I remember fiddling around with a gun when I was probably in my teens, my young teens.
Well, I hadn't heard that story until now.
Yeah, it's one that I've told my mom a couple times
So
to
Mom
her
knows.
great horror.
Yeah, of course.
But the point I'm trying to make is we think our kids maybe know when they don't, because that was my mom's assumption, that you know better. And of course I did know better, but I was so curious about it. And I wish I would have had more formal training.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have had somebody show it to me, because I remember it was curiosity. I was fascinated by it.
Well, I want to play this 1-minute video the Ohio State University researchers used. A very simple video from a chief of police on camera explaining gun safety in very basic terms. And researchers there had a group of kids, 226 kids in all. They split that group in two. One group watched this gun safety video. The other did not. And then they put these kids in a room with toys and like Nerf guns and foam swords and Legos, and then also a couple of unloaded guns. And the reaction from the group that had seen the gun video is astounding. We're going to walk through that and the results of that study next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Well, I've reached another milestone on my journey with soda weight loss. It's 6 months since I hit my goal and let go of 70 pounds of fat weight. And in those 6 months, I've managed to keep it off and still enjoy all the benefits of my journey, including a new wardrobe, a new sense of self-confidence, and most important of all, a set of new habits that are healthy and that will last me for the rest of my life. This is what makes soda so amazing. Of course, it's spelled S-O-T-A. I've now been enjoying the benefits of soda weight loss longer than it took me to let go of the fat in the first place. So think about, where do you want to be in 4 to 5 months? Start the program now and you could be down 50, 60, even 70 pounds by the holidays. Imagine showing your family and friends the new transformed you at Christmas. Check them out for yourself. Go to sotaweightloss.com. That's sotaweightloss.com and see for yourself why soda is #1 for client results and client satisfaction. SOTA stands for, say it with me, State of the Art.
This Friday, at the 50, the 40, it's BYU's first away game of the season.
Touchdown, Cougars! Rise and shout!
BYU, Southern Methodist University. Pregame from Dallas starts at 3 with kickoff at 5. Make sure you're listening as you drive home on Utah's legacy home for the Cougars. KSL News Radio.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. And there's no catch. There's no raising the price on the air conditioner first. There's no making you buy the most expensive air conditioner to qualify. There's none of that. There's just a desire to keep our technicians working while the weather's mild and a genuine appreciation of you for helping us keep them busy. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner and want to know exactly how much you can save during our free furnace sale, call Any Hour Services today and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
It's happening at pharmacies all across America. Older Americans keep asking, where are the lower prices on prescription drugs Joe Biden and Kamala Harris keep taking credit for? First, Harris cast the deciding vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, promising to lower drug prices. Then the Biden-Harris administration used the money from Medicare to bankroll their liberal green agenda. That's right. Instead of savings, seniors got a 20% premium increase, restrictions on access to medicine, and fewer cures. Now, liberals want to expand this Biden-Harris scheme that is already hurting seniors. Thankfully, Congressman Blake Moore has always fought to protect Medicare drug coverage. Call him at 202-224-3121. Urge him to keep fighting for affordable drug coverage by opposing H.R. 4895. Paid for by Seniors for Better Care.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips, now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up! Oscar!
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, a nonprofit has purchased Chad Daybell's home in eastern Idaho, planning to demolish it and turn it into a place of, quote, peace, healing, and hope. Second, Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz is okay after several cars in his motorcade crashed. The Secret Service says there was no impact on the car that Walz was actually in. And third, we are 1 week away from the presidential debate where former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris have agreed to debate. We're going to look for a high today around 90 and right now 76 in Salt Lake City. Let's get you back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
It's really sad, and quite frankly, it's over the course of our careers, it's something that we have talked about and had to report on all too often, and that is accidental shootings involving young children. And we're talking about another one today where it appears a child who's perhaps about 8 years old accidentally discharged a gun, shot himself in the head last night outside of a convenience store in Lehi, and at last word, in extremely critical condition. And the gun had been inside a car, according to witnesses. And police said it was shot and fired off inside the car. And you and I started down this path this morning as we were talking about this, wondering if there was anything out there at all that reduced a child's curiosity about guns. And lo and behold, I think we found something.
We did. And so often we think back, because I've had this conversation with my mom a great deal because she grew up in Ely, Nevada, where it seemed like everybody had guns and she would go out and the family, her dad would take her hunting. So she was very comfortable with guns. I, on the other hand, had no experience with guns. Even though we had a gun or two in the house, we had a few guns in the house. My parents never took me shooting. We never went hunting. So I had a great curiosity when it came to guns. And I knew they were dangerous. I knew, not to look down the barrel. And I understood some basics. But I played with guns. Or, I would look at them without my parents knowing them. So I hear this story and my stomach sinks because I could have been the tragedy, right? That could have happened in our family. And I think, okay, curiosity, kids, guns, that is very natural. I'm not trying to judge any of these parents. What can we do? Or is there anything we can do to make that curiosity and curb it and make it a little safer?
So Ohio State University researchers put this to the test, and this is actually a published study that they did involving 226 children. And we found this article actually posted, and the video posted at OSU's website. So there's 226 kids that they gather, and what they do is they split these kids into separate groups. One group watches a car safety video, unrelated to guns, right? A car safety video. The other group watches a chief of police in uniform in a very simply produced video where this chief of police is speaking to the camera. And for less than 1 minute, she discusses, in very simplistic terms, gun safety. And the results, when they put kids to the test after, were really astounding. So shall we listen to that 1 minute or so video, and then we're going to talk about the results. Here's the chief of police at Ohio State University on video, and this is what half of those 226 kids in that experiment watched.
I am here today to discuss gun safety. First and foremost, guns are not toys and are not to be played with. If a child finds a real gun, they should not pick it up or move it. Instead, find an adult and tell them where it is located. Do not bring guns to school. If you see or hear of a gun at a school, tell a teacher or the school police officer. Likewise, even toy guns could be dangerous. Never pretend that a toy gun is real. And most importantly, always follow the directions of a police officer.
And let me just be very clear. This video is so incredibly simply produced. There is no video of a gun or kids playing with guns. This is just the chief of police speaking to a camera. That's it. And let's talk about how effective they found this to be.
So I think it's important to note, 1 week later, it wasn't 1 minute later, it was 1 week later, they bring all 226 kids back. Remember, half have watched this car safety video, has nothing to do with gun safety, and then half have watched that gun safety video we just played for you. Then they put these children in a controlled environment with Legos and Jenga toy or game and Nerf guns and foam swords. And they're in that environment, it's a room, for 20 minutes. And this is, again, Ohio State University. And then they've got hidden cameras and they've got parents watching from another room. And it's important to note that they also put unloaded and disabled firearms in a file cabinet drawer in that room with the children.
Yeah, it was kind of a mysterious file cabinet that they had tucked away. So they wanted to see, would kids explore and hunt and find it? And yeah, 96% of kids found the guns.
So overwhelmingly, the kids find their way to the gun. I think that's important to note. I mean, curious kids find their way to guns. The key finding in this study is that the difference between those who watch the gun safety video compared to those children, the other half who watch the car safety video. Ohio State University says those who watch the gun safety video were more than 3 times more likely to tell an adult. What's your reaction?
It doesn't surprise me. Kids are grasping and understanding and paying more attention than we realize. So this video, which was, in my opinion, objectively, I'm like, this is a boring video. It was still effective.
And the kids who watched the gun safety video were far less likely to touch a gun, to touch one of the guns. Some of them still did, but 39% who watched the gun safety video touched the gun, compared to 67% who'd watched the car safety video. 67% who watched that car safety video touched the gun, Dave.
Yeah, so almost double the kids. It cut it in half. By watching the safety video, it cut it almost in half.
And those who watched the gun safety video held the gun for far less time than those who did not. So those who had watched the car video held the gun for 100 seconds. So that's about a minute and 40 seconds. And those who watched the gun video held it for about 40 seconds.
Yeah, so they hold the gun for fewer seconds. They were less likely to pull the trigger. And then when they did pull the trigger, they pulled the trigger fewer times. All because of this 1 minute video.
Boring video.
So if
right?
this 1 minute boring video,
Super simple video
was effective, what if we had an entire class or some sort of training for kids that allows them to touch on that curiosity, but to also understand how dangerous a gun can be. I think this is a great example of what we can do to help make sure that kids know how to handle guns safely, or what to do if they encounter a gun.
An important point in this whole study, these kids who participated were between the ages of 8 and 12 years old.
Yes, it's I think a powerful lesson. And we probably ought to take this more seriously than we do. So often we feel sadness for what happened. And I think we can do more. I remember back in the 50s and 60s, they would have gun clubs in high schools. We don't have any of that. Like, how many kids take a hunter's safety course or have an understanding? We just want to pretend like, oh, well, kids will never encounter a gun. And if they do, they know how dangerous it is. We can't make those assumptions any longer. We've got to be proactive about it. And I think it would be a really smart thing to do is to have something planned and taught in our schools.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories this half hour. A young boy now fighting for his life after police say he accidentally shot himself in the head outside a gas station in Lehi last night. Doug Shields was filling up his car when this happened. He tells KSL TV he helped the boy's mother to the curb while others tried to help save her son. According to Shields, she said,
She goes, he found the gun under my seat and pulled the trigger. Apparently it's an accident. It was a total accident.
Shields says he overheard the boy's mom say he was 8 years old and that he and his mom had come to the gas station to get a treat. Lehi police say the boy was taken to the hospital in extremely critical condition. He has since been flown to another hospital. Police are looking for a Pleasant View woman who she allegedly punched a drive-through customer in the face with brass knuckles. Police say the incident happened at the Quick Stop in Ogden back in August. Teresa Reyes is accused of trying to punch through the car window and threatening to get a gun. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. At least 47 people have died in a deadly airstrike in eastern Ukraine. The strike hit a hospital and college in the city of Poltava, and Ukrainian forces say it was the work of Russian ballistic missiles.
We see bodies lying on the ground, huge holes blown in the side of this college, and the rescue efforts are ongoing. We know that people are still buried under the rubble. They say, local authorities, that they've so far rescued at least 25 people, pulling them from the rubble, but that the search is ongoing.
ABC's Patrick Greville says rescue crews are still scrambling to find survivors. Your money at this moment, tough day on the markets, at least for now. We're down 450 points, 1% on the Dow. We're down 79, which is 1.4% on the S&P, and the NASDAQ is off 404 points right now, 2.3%. Coming up, we'll get another look at how the roads are doing and see what the forecast holds for the rest of the afternoon. KSL News Time, 9:33.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
We have some, I think, real struggles in this country, and we don't always address them, and it's regarding addiction. It's uncomfortable, it's embarrassing, and it's devastating. It's part of the reason why I think Renaissance Ranch has really focused on a program that will include the entire family.
You don't need to suffer in silence. There is help out there, and this help comes in the form of Renaissance Ranch's free online support classes. And these classes are taught weekly, they're online, they're free, they're open to the public. And you can attend as many of these classes as you want to or you need to.
And the reason they offer these is because they know that the research has shown that the more a family member and loved one and a support system is there for those that are struggling with addiction, the chances of a positive outcome skyrocket.
Renaissance Ranch is Utah's best in state, winning substance abuse and mental health treatment provider. They are incredible, and they're faith-based. They're clinically proven for more than 20 years.
All you have to do is go to renaissanceranch.com to find these free online classes. They're open to the public. More than 1,000 showed up and attended these classes last month, so they've been very popular. Just go to renaissanceranch.com.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
Check out AMCO's multiple financing options so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow.
That's AMCO, AA, MCO.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Hi everyone, it's Congressman Blake Moore here. It's been a busy summer visiting communities and meeting with Utahns across the 1st District. My Ogden-based office has also enjoyed engaging with you at many local events. We're always grateful to connect with you. I'd love to continue hearing your thoughts on what is happening in Congress and how current issues impact you and your family, from inflation to border security and everything in between. Please join me for my next telephone town hall on Thursday, September 5th at 12 p.m. by dialing in at 833-305-1678. That's 833-305-1678 on Thursday, September 5th at 12 p.m. Due to U.S. law, I will be unable to communicate with constituents 60 days leading up to the general election unless you are subscribed to our weekly e-newsletter and follow us on social media. So be sure to subscribe and follow today. You can sign up for our e-newsletter at blakemore.house.gov and follow along on social media at Rep. Blake Moore. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you on September 5th. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. How are we looking, Len?
Tim, we're looking pretty good right now. Still a little bit slow making your way from Lehi up around the point of the mountain to 114th South, but traffic moving at least 30 miles an hour at times. We have a fresh crash out there on SR 36. That is just near Stansbury Park on the right side, on the right shoulder. Otherwise, traffic moving fairly well at this point. Revere Health encourages you to schedule your preventative care and annual checkups to help increase the potential to live your most healthy and active life. Revere Health, your partner in health, your partner in life. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
More chances of showers and thunderstorms today. You can see the clouds starting to build up again, and it looks like if you look at the hourly forecast, the most likely time of the day will be right through the mid part, so we'll keep an eye on that. Also a chance of some real microburst winds in some of those areas as well. 90 for a high, and right now it's 79 in Salt Lake City from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We have been seeing a lot of gang-related crimes, including shootings. And the question is, should Utah toughen up laws to prosecute adults who recruit children or use children to commit gang-related shootings and other crimes, Dave?
And I saw this story come through KSL.com. Pat Reevy did some great work on this. He said gangs are recruiting younger. And the reason they're recruiting younger is because, quite frankly, we go easier on kids that commit a crime than adults. So the gang leaders are making a very smart calculation saying, and this is not a brand new phenomenon. This has been happening for years. But gang leaders recruit young people to commit terrible crimes because they know if they do get caught, then the punishment will be much easier than an adult.
Representative Ryan Wilcox, live on the line with us. Good morning. Just an absolute sad situation going on. And I'm reading through Pat Reevy's story on KSL.com, as Dave was just doing. And you're talking kids who are committing these violent acts. And I'm not sure all of them are connected in every single case to gang-related crimes, but you got 16-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 17-year-olds. Representative, what do lawmakers have the appetite to do about this?
Yeah, it's good to see or talk to you, I suppose, this morning.
Yeah.
This morning since we're on the radio. But, this is the first bill that has, at least in draft form, that has come out of the Subcommittee on Organized Crime. And frankly, it's not the first area we thought we would have something ready to talk about. And we created it in large part based on some of the more serious adult crimes that we see. But what we found when we started looking into the problems that we were facing is that the adult crime has very much bled into the lives of our kids. And not just in the shootings that you've seen that I think all of us have noticed, that's particularly tragic when it involves a child, but in the behavior of these gangs. Dave mentioned that this has happened for a long time. I think it has to a certain extent. And for whatever reason, over the last decade in the United States, in our effort to be compassionate towards juveniles and not to have kids with long rap sheets going in, those who would intentionally prey upon children have no problem using that to their advantage, using our compassion to their advantage. And at the end of the day, it ends up not being compassionate at all, as these kids are hardened at a much earlier age.
So what would be the solution? What's the proposal?
Well, part of it is, I think one of the mistakes that we made earlier is focusing as much on the juveniles rather than focusing on those who do them harm. And so you've seen in the last year or two some efforts to, elevate the penalties. And in other words, if it's proven that an adult recruited a child to commit a homicide, recruited a child to commit a serious crime, then that penalty that would have normally applied for the adult in that case would still apply as if the adult had committed it.
So almost
we're talking about
as an accomplice, right? You'd charge them; they'd be held as guilty as. So would the juvenile get a pass, or how would you handle that?
No, the same juvenile penalties would apply to the child, but we're not giving a pass to those who are directing this kind of behavior anymore. The bill that's come out that we're talking about right now includes, right now it's a Class B misdemeanor, which is like a bad speeding ticket, right, for any individual to recruit a minor into a gang or to intimidate a minor to stay into a gang, which often happens once a kid is in and realizes this was a very poor life choice. We're elevating those kind of penalties too. You're going to talk a third-degree felony. Right now, the gang members, they just laugh at it. These criminal organizations, they sort of laugh at our misdemeanors and throwing around. So you're talking, felony charges now. If you recruit a minor into a gang, and specifically if you entice a minor to commit one of these heinous crimes.
We're speaking live right now, Representative Ryan Wilcox, about Capitol Hill's push to enhance penalties for adults who recruit minors to commit violent acts, gang-on-gang violence, and the uptick in children that we're seeing killing each other or shooting at each other or committing crimes against each other. And you said homicide, but are there other enhancements for other crimes as well, Representative?
Yeah, in fact, it's not limited to, I mentioned homicide because we've had a rash of those, but right. It's not limited to a specific crime. And frankly, it creates the crime of organized criminal activity, which makes it a third-degree felony to commit a certain crime defined as a predicate offense with the intent to benefit gang recognition or higher status in the criminal gang enterprise or group. So we're getting very specific into how they operate. And really, we've been working with the Salt Lake Metro Gang Unit, with the different sheriff's offices around the state to make sure that we, one, understand the psychology of how these things are happening. We've gone into closed session multiple times, if you're following the Organized Crime Subcommittee, as we talk about active investigation on how they're operating, how they're recruiting kids, how they're targeting people, and how these crimes end up being committed, to make sure that we understand what they're doing in order to dismantle these enterprises.
Representative Ryan Wilcox, thank you for joining us.
Well,
Thank you.
Thanks, Representative. From legislative proposal to the actual practice of implementing this in the courtroom, Let's get KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas on the line to give us his 2 cents on how this would play out in the criminal justice system.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
It's me again, and of course, I'm at the annual Fall Extravaganza at J&J Garden Center in Layton. And what a great time to buy. Right now, all containerized trees, all shrubs, and all perennials are 20% off. You heard me right. J&J's entire inventory of containerized trees, shrubs, and perennials are 20% off their regular price. J&J Garden Center definitely has the best products at the best price, and most definitely the best service, too. But don't take my word for it. Come experience J&J Garden Center for yourself. Take advantage of their incredible fall tree, shrub, and perennial extravaganza. Take the Layton Parkway exit, Main Street to Gentile, then west 2 miles. You've got to see it to believe it. You really do.
Country grown to your home. J&J Garden Center.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our clients' portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Life can feel hard or overwhelming sometimes, but you don't have to face things alone. Getting help for yourself or someone you're worried about starts with a call or text to 988, where you always have someone to talk to, someone to help you, and somewhere safe to go. 988 Utah is here for anyone experiencing mental health challenges or emotional distress. 988 Utah can even help you navigate how to support your struggling loved ones. Whether you're struggling with anxiety, depression, or suicidal thoughts, trained professionals are ready to listen and provide free, confidential support 24/7. Utah, don't hesitate to call or text 988 for you or someone you care about. The caring staff at 988 Utah can connect you to the right resources. Learn more at 988lifeline.org.
Get back to school ready with Gillette Services. Ensure your home's comfort with expert HVAC solutions. Mention this ad and get 15% off. Call 385-GET-COOL today.
Master Electrical Services, home of the upfront pricing guarantee.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Let me tell you an amazing story. Last week, a customer came in. They were a creative director for an agency, and they were frustrated that their old, slow computer wasn't processing their files quick enough. He had a big project due and could not afford any delays. Well, we hooked him up with one of our new, powerful 2025 desktops for only $999, and he was able to complete his project with ease. Take one home today. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage. for $9.99. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited, because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $9.99, PCLaptops.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, a young boy is in life-threatening condition after police say he accidentally shot himself outside a gas station in Lehi. He reportedly found the gun under the seat in the car. Second, Utah firefighters didn't take a break this Labor Day weekend. The Station 13 and Wild Land Crew with Dameron Valley were deployed to Idaho to help fight a large fire there. And third, drivers in Parley's Canyon experienced extra backups on Labor Day after the brakes of a semi-truck trailer overheated and caught fire. The flames spread about 20 feet up the mountain and shut down lanes for 5 hours. We're going to look for a high today of 90 degrees. Chance of showers coming this afternoon as well. Right now, it's 79. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
I was just reading through this news article on KSL.com about a recent rash of either gang-related or teen-involved shootings. And reporter Pat Reevy here has outlined 6 different examples involving kids involved in violent crimes, shootings, Dave. And we just spoke with Representative Ryan Wilcox about Capitol Hill's proposal to enhance penalties against adults who are using kids to commit these crimes.
It's a crucial conversation because we don't have a great appetite, and I don't think have a great solution when a 14-year-old commits a terrible crime. Do we treat them as an adult? Have you met a 14-year-old? Are they adults? But can you let them get away with murder? Literally get away with murder and treat them as juveniles? We don't have a great way of handling this. So this idea, if a 14-year-old, 12-year-old gets recruited into a gang, absolutely it makes sense to me that we hold that adult, the person that recruited them into the gang, hold them responsible on some level, and charge them with a felony. That's one of the proposals on Capitol Hill. So I think this is a great direction.
Representative Ryan Wilcox saying this about the current penalties and the way the system handles this scenario now.
The bill that's come out that we're talking about right now includes, right now it's a Class B misdemeanor, which is like a bad speeding ticket, right? For any individual to recruit a minor into a gang or to intimidate a minor to stay into a gang, which often happens once a kid is in and realizes this was a very poor life choice. We're elevating those kind of penalties too. You're going to talk a third-degree felony. Right now, the gang members, they just laugh at it. These criminal organizations, they sort of laugh at our misdemeanors and throw it around. So you're talking, felony charges now. If you recruit a minor into a gang, and specifically if you entice a minor to commit one of these heinous crimes.
Joining us right now is our KSL legal analyst, Greg Skordas. Greg, walk us through right now. What is the standard? How do we handle juveniles right now that commit serious crimes?
So we actually wrestled with this exact issue, Dave, 30 years ago. And the result of that was, and I was part of the gang task force at the time, we created what was then called the Serious Youth Offender Act, which allowed prosecutors to go after younger offenders because we were seeing that they were being used by the older gang members to commit crimes because they felt that they wouldn't be charged. And so we did allow, under certain circumstances, the 16, 17-year-old, sometimes even the 14, 15-year-old to be charged criminally. Now, you're talking about something completely different now, which is to say, what about the adults that entice or coerce or convince these kids to commit these kind of crimes and enhancing the penalties for that? I think that's a great idea in theory. I just think it's going to be very hard to prove because you're going to need a young offender to say, I wasn't going to do this. It's not something I wanted to do, but these guys talked me into it. They coerced me to do it. They forced me to do it. And then what kind of problems does that young person have going forward, being labeled as a snitch, so to speak. So I think it's a good idea. It's going to be very hard to enforce, I think.
So what you're saying, Greg, from your experience as both a prosecutor and a defense attorney, is that trying to get a child who just committed some sort of heinous act and recognizes that they're in some really big trouble criminally to flip on an adult who has been puppeteering their activities is going to be extremely tricky and maybe put that child in a position of just living in even more fear.
No, you're exactly right, and make it so that they're forever looking over their shoulder about the people that they had turned on and that they had testified against. It's not likely going to happen. Now, if you have a young offender who's charged with a serious crime, for which they could go to youth detention and ultimately an adult prison when they turn 18, maybe they're willing to do what they need to do to get out of that situation. Maybe they will work with the police or work with the state or work with the prosecution to get these more serious gang members. But boy, I just think those are very hard to do, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of that. But I do applaud the legislature for wanting to take this step.
Greg, if you take about 60 seconds or so, and I know Dave is probably as a photographer, photojournalist, covered gang-related shootings in the past, and I've just covered these stories, as you said, for 30 years as a reporter. But take us inside just for a moment what the world of gangs looks like here along the Wasatch Front. I mean, we're seeing it play out in news headlines and in news stories, but it just seems like unforgiving and unrelenting violence.
Yeah, and sort of unforgiving in terms of some young people at some of the neighborhoods and some of the schools have to make a choice as not whether to join a gang or not, but which gang to join. It's not an option anymore for some of these kids, especially in some of these areas. And it's tough because you're either in a gang or you're going to be hurt by the gang. And there's a lot of recruiting done. And that recruiting is in part getting the young people to show their mettle, to show that they're willing to take these things on and to show that they're willing to do acts that will make them popular with the gang. And these gangs are, I mean, frankly, they show a lot of support within their members. Some of these kids are not getting any love at home, but boy, they sure get it with their gang members. And that's a terrible thing to say, but we sure see it a lot. And it's heartbreaking because they join the gang because they're not getting the support that they need at home. And then they get in a gang and then their life is flipped upside down for a lot of other reasons.
Greg, when I hear that, we start lowering the ages, to 17, 16, maybe even 15 and 14 in some extreme cases of where we will charge a child as an adult, does the gang leadership just see, okay, well, let me see what age they're cracking down on? We'll just go 1 year younger than that. Do you see them just keep pushing the boundaries younger and younger?
I would sure hope not, Dave, because we're never going to be prosecuting 13-year-olds. I mean, that's where we draw the line in Utah. But boy, when you start, if you think about 13-year-olds committing crimes, and God forbid we ever see that, then we've really got a problem because the juvenile justice system and the adult justice system just isn't set up to take care of that very well. I mean, we can address them in juvenile court, but severe crimes, very severe crimes committed by people who are under the age of 14, I think a lot of people, including our legislature, would feel like there's just not enough teeth in the system to appropriately punish them. And frankly, do you really want to punish a 13-year-old?
Greg, thank you for joining us on this. Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst.
Straight ahead, we are going to have Pat Reevy of KSL.com. He's a reporter for KSL.com who's done extensive research and also been a crime reporter for decades about the recent rash of gang activity and gang violence that we've been seeing along the Wasatch Front. Some of these incidents that he's citing in his KSL.com article involve children as young as 14 years old. He said some of these are gang-related, others are teen-related violence, and Pat's going to walk us through what he's uncovering next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. A man from Draper being accused of using an umbrella to attack a rugby coach. KSL News Radio's Verl Johansson has more.
The attack happened a little more than a month ago at a rugby tournament. Charging documents state a coach was trying to break up a fight when Takis Vakapuna hit the coach multiple times with an umbrella, causing the coach to lose sight in his right eye and knocking him out cold.
Vakapuna is being charged with a second-degree felony. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. At least 47 people have died and more than 200 hurt in a deadly airstrike in eastern Ukraine. Russian missiles hit a hospital and college in the city of Poltava. President Zelensky has been urging the U.S. to lift its restrictions on using weapons supplied by the U.S. for attacks inside Russia. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average slipping on the day, 442 points. Down since the start of trading today. NASDAQ is down 429. And our KSL weather. Looks like another sunny and hot day, but there is a chance of a thunderstorm. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
I'm Eric Ramos, healthcare provider at Revive Men's Health. If you are always feeling tired or moody, have a difficult time sleeping, or decreased libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam at Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Winter is coming, but there's still time to replace those drafty old windows before the cold comes and drives up your heating bill. Just make one call and take advantage of the Advanced Window Products Fall Special. $2,500 off on 10 windows or more, and that's $2,500 off their already low factory direct prices, because at Advanced Window Products, they're the factory. Your windows are built in their facility right here in Salt Lake City. You're buying local, and with their lifetime guarantee, you don't ever have to call some faraway state for help. Advanced Window Products is right here, proudly backing up their work. So make one call, save on your heating bill, and get a rebate from the energy companies. Advanced Window Products offers 0% financing. They can even give you amazing new windows with no money down. And don't forget, $2,500 off their factory direct prices, but you have to call now. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Lynn Thomas.
Well, Dan, this crash northbound I-15 near 114 south on the left shoulder, still residing here for hours. Traffic is heavy starting at SR 92 coming over the point of the mountain up to about 114 south overall, but the slowest spot is over the point of the mountain about 158 south up to 154 south before picking up again, possibly because some raindrops are coming down in the area. The BYU Department of Dance presents World of Dance, featuring BYU's finest student ballroom, contemporary ballet, Native American, and international folk dance ensemble, September 19th and 20th at the Marriott Center. Tickets at BYUonstage.com. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy skies with a high of 90 today. A chance for thunderstorms this afternoon and evening. Drier and cooler tomorrow and Thursday. And right now we're at 77 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We're talking about gang violence and a rash of gang activity involving teenagers. And in a moment, KSL.com's Pat Reevy, who has been researching, and of course, Pat's been reporting on crime for a very, very long time across Utah. He's going to give us kind of the lay of the land of what's been going on related to teen violence.
Because this is really where it started up for us. We saw the headline, Gangs Are Recruiting Younger. And this was several examples in Pat's article of things that are happening here in Utah, in the Salt Lake Valley, where gang members, older gang members, are recruiting these younger gang members because they know that the laws go easier on kids than it does adults. So they're trying to game the system, and we have several examples of juveniles that are committing very serious, dangerous crimes, even murder.
Hi, Pat.
Hello.
Walk us through, I'm thinking about some of these recent shootings, and I'm thinking about the one, for example, where Salt Lake County Sheriff Rosie Rivera was talking about the shooting at the Mount Olympus Trail. Let me just play some audio from an interview she did not too long ago.
Saturday morning around 4:30 in the morning, we just received some calls of shots being fired in the Mount Olympus area near the parking lot. So our deputies responded, and upon their arrival, they did find one deceased person in the vehicle with multiple gunshot wounds.
Do you know yet if that is gang-related, that particular shooting, for example, that got so much news coverage?
Well, it did, and here's the part I think that was most concerning to me in looking up all this, is that there's been this rash of, in the news lately, youth violence isn't new. There's been several incidents which gained a lot of attention between the Mill Creek shooting at the Mount Olympus Trailhead, the one with the Judge Memorial teenager who was shot and killed in the Winco parking lot, the 14-year-old who was shot at the Monaco Apartments and killed. But what really raised my concern level was how it seems to be gang on non-gang crime, which was really interesting to me. And I don't know what's propelling this or sparking this, because it used to be we would hear about rival gang members and other gangs who were warring with each other. But it really seems like lately in the past month, we've had these incidents where you've had these documented gang members who are committing violent crimes against non-gang members. And I just don't know the answer to that one.
Pat, does it seem like it's coming from one specific gang, or is it just a variety of gangs that are involved?
I think a variety. There is one or two, I think, that are on the Salt Lake Metro Gang Unit's radar who have been causing quite a bit of trouble for the past couple of years. And it seems to be teenagers, people who are generally would go through the juvenile system first because they're under 18. We're seeing a lot more of these kids being charged as adults as they get captured. But to answer your question, it seems like it's just people who are, for whatever reason, picking out others who they think are in gangs. And I thought was really interesting in the Mount Olympus Trailhead murder, where Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill wrote in the charging documents that, if I can find the quote here, that the parking lot clearly demonstrated in the parking lot that they believe the victims be members of a rival gang based solely on the victim's appearance, which I think was really scary if these kids are out there and they're willing to go to such violent means right away just because they think somebody looks like they might be in a rival gang.
Pat Reevy is a crime reporter, has been for a long time. He was a reporter for KSL.com. He wrote an article recently entitled Gangs Are Recruiting Younger. Police are warning this amid a rash of youth violence in the Salt Lake Valley. And we often report, Pat, you see a lot more of this. We often report on the more violent crimes like shootings. Are you seeing other crimes, an uptick involving youth and perhaps gang-related as well?
I'm just seeing a lot more the ages in a lot of the search warrants or jail booking documents that I read every day, talking about, like, there was in West Valley, an 18-year-old was arrested for pulling a gun on a 14-year-old, and unfortunately he didn't shoot him, but he hit him. There's also another case I know Salt Lake City police are investigating where a 13-year-old had his shoes stolen at gunpoint. And so these are just little things where, the investigations are ongoing, but everybody involved here seems to be getting younger and younger.
You have an indication from those you talk to in law enforcement as to why?
As far as the perpetrators, I think they're just getting recruited by the adults, which is why I think the sheriff and Sim Gill went up to the Legislative Interim Committee recently and said, look, we need to have more penalties for these adults, people who are 18 and over, who are recruiting these younger people to commit these crimes for them. And as far as why they're doing it, again, I think it's partly because the adults know that the penalties are not as severe right away for a juvenile, especially a first-time offender. And that's why I think we see some of these kids, like, for instance, the 15-year-old who was arrested in the Mount Olympus trailhead shooting, had quite the juvenile history. He was racking up a lot of crimes, but he seems to be going in and out of the system a lot.
Pat Reevy, thank you for your reporting with KSL.com. Pat, appreciate your time, because I think it's important to be tracking this. And this is why I think it's been so crucial to have Pat's expertise, who's followed this for decades and followed trends, to see this happening and be aware that gang members, older gang members, adults are recruiting younger and younger, and then asking these younger kids or incentivizing them to commit crimes because the legal system goes easier on kids.
Just got a news release, and so we want to get to breaking news. This is from the Lehi City Police Department. Some very sad news to report that the 8-year-old who was accidentally wounded with a firearm last night, the Lehi Police Department says it is announcing the passing of this 8-year-old male, and then goes on to give more information about the details that happened. And Dave and I and our whole team of reporters and producers have been covering this story all morning long. And what happened last night happened about 7:40 in the evening. Police responding to a call of a child with a gunshot wound to the head appeared to be unintentional and self-inflicted. And Dave, maybe we want to walk now through some of those details that we're reporting in the 9 o'clock hour this morning.
Yeah, those are such heartbreaking details, unintentional and self-inflicted. Some witnesses said that this child was 8 years old. I don't know if it says that in the police report.
8-year-old male.
So it was 8 years old
with a firearm. Yeah.
I mean, we have been discussing this morning about children's curiosity in general with guns, and we don't know specifically if this was a curiosity thing. Though what they have said is determined that it was accidental.
It happened at a gas station in Lehi last night when witnesses told KSL 5 television that it appears mom had gone into the gas station and the 8-year-old was, in the car. And then here's what one of the witnesses told KSL 5 TV.
And then she goes, he shot himself. And I first thought suicide. And she goes, he found the gun under my seat and pulled the trigger. Apparently it's an accident. It was a total accident.
And the worst possible scenario happens. He passes away this morning. Heartbreaking. And we will continue to follow this story, but also I think it's important to have a further discussion, Debbie, when it comes to kids and their curiosity, their interest in guns, and what we're doing as parents to help train them. Are we doing it individually? Are we doing it as a society? Because there is a prevalence of guns in our society. The chances of your kid coming upon a gun or finding a gun or seeing a gun or having a gun in your house that is unsecured is very high. What are we doing to make sure that kids know exactly how to treat a gun?
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
I joined Salt Lake City Fat Loss back in February. So it's been a number of months, 6, going on 7 months now. And Salt Lake City Fat Loss taught me, number one, how to lose weight, lose a ton of weight. In fact, many clients will lose 20 to 30 pounds in a month or two. I lost 25 pounds in 3 weeks. So I saw huge results early on. I lost 57 pounds overall in just a couple of months. And I did it without surgery. I did it without injections. Without prepackaged meals. Those were important parts of the plan for me that I was looking for. I didn't want the surgery. I did want to do injections. And I didn't want to be on some meal plan that required me to buy their food all of the time. I've done that in the past. I got sick of the food after about 2 weeks. So Salt Lake City Fat Loss has been wonderful for me. Very excited to tell you guys about it. So go ahead and visit and get a free consultation by visiting their website, slcfatloss.com. If you use my name, you're going to get an extra $200 off the program. Just go to slcfatloss.com.
Finally. September. Things are finally going to get back to normal.
We are one step closer to having a section of downtown Salt Lake City transformed.
Utah Senate Democrats say there's no need for the special session.
The air quality is hazy and unhealthy for all groups.
They say it's not true. There's no ticket quota.
Since when is there a normal anyway? We're tracking these stories to keep you updated on key developments. Listen each day this week to KSL News Radio.
Les Olson IT now provides building security solutions. Do you need physical access control for your facilities? Are you looking for video surveillance systems accessible in the palm of your hand? Les Olson IT has what you need, and their low-voltage network cabling specialists will install it and make sure it's working the way it should. Learn more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About $400. The furnace is free, you just pay the labor. And there's no catch. There's no raising the price on the air conditioner first. There's no making you buy the most expensive air conditioner to qualify. There's none of that. There's just a desire to keep our technicians working while the weather's mild and a genuine appreciation of you for helping us keep them busy. So if you've been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner and want to know exactly how much you can save during our free furnace sale, call Any Hour Services today and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This year, head to Abravanel Hall for an elevated movie night. Experience your favorite films in concert with action-packed blockbusters, cinematic classics, and animated masterpieces playing on the big screen while the Utah Symphony plays the iconic movie scores live. Grab your tickets now and see the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park or relive the spellbinding magic of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. More at utahsymphony.org/films.
Attention commercial property managers and business owners. Say snowplow 3 times and who shows up? GoPave Utah. Clearing snow faster than you can say sandworms. That's GoPaveUtah.com.
Want to keep your gas-powered engines running like new? Stable's proprietary formulas are proven by third-party testing to outperform the competition in keeping fuel fresh, preventing corrosion, and cleaning the entire fuel system. With Stable, you can have confidence you are doing the right thing for your engine's long-term health. Just pour into your gas can or fuel tank, Then top off with fresh fuel. At every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable. Available where fuel additives are sold.
As a roofer, I'm always on the go. So I need to be able to get things done from anywhere. That's why I partnered with Beacon. With their unique Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips 24/7. I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Now through September 15th, purchase GAF through Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Go to BECN.com or download the Beacon Pro Plus app today. Beacon, always building.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, a man is facing felony charges for assaulting a coach at a rugby match with an umbrella. Second, at least 47 people were killed in a Russian missile attack on the Ukrainian city of Poltava. And third, Chad Daybell's home near Rexburg, Idaho, has been bought by a nonprofit group that plans to tear it down. Right now, 80 degrees, partly cloudy. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic.
Jay Evenson of the Deseret News, he's the opinion editor, writes a lot of opinions, and he is joining us today on this one that he recently wrote about what happened at Arlington National Cemetery. And this piece is entitled, Politics in Arlington National Cemetery Show the Need for Americans to Confront Their Sacred Places.
Yeah, and I think if you've done any kind of traveling or gone, into Washington and been at some of these hallowed places, there is a certain level of reverence that just naturally happens. And if somebody kind of comes in and is disruptive, it's disturbing. It's upsetting to me, quite honestly, Jay. I've been there, to the Vietnam Memorial. And if somebody just kind of comes in on bikes or is a little bit rowdy, it stands out like a sore thumb.
There are some videos on YouTube of people at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier who are actually trying to get a reaction out of the guard that is there, and they will enforce it. They will enforce decorum and the sacred nature of that place, and so that's disturbing to me. My point in this column wasn't necessarily to go after President Trump and Governor Cox, and they tried to make political campaign statements at being at Arlington. The governor has since apologized. I understand that campaign staffers can become a little overzealous at times and kind of go rogue. And so I think they deserve the benefit of the doubt. But I wanted to expand this a little bit to the American people in general. I think are losing sight of their sacred places and how they should act at those places.
Because it's not inappropriate that President Trump or Governor Cox showed up for this memorial in any way.
No, and they were
just because they're political figures.
I believe they were invited there by the families of the deceased, and so there was nothing wrong with that. It's just you're not supposed to take photos or do anything of a campaigning nature in that section of Arlington Cemetery.
So what was as you sat down to write this opinion piece, what was your takeaway about how we as Americans treat our sacred places?
A lot of people say these sacred places are trying to tell us things, and I really do believe that. And you have to be in the right frame of mind. You have to be quiet in order to listen to what they're trying to say. And we have a lot of sacred places, not just Arlington, but I think cemeteries in general. I think sacred indigenous lands, and I think our national parks. I mean, there have been a huge uptick in vandalism in our national parks, which I think is abhorrent. I think churches, we're not going to church as much as a society as we used to. City halls, state houses. We had a big argument a year or so ago about whether there should be a dress code in the U.S. Senate. And I want to just read what the Washington Post said about that, which I thought was interesting. They said, dressing formally conveys respect for the sanctity of the institution and for the real-world impact of the policies it advances. Putting on a suit creates an occasion for lawmakers to reflect just for a moment on the special responsibilities with which the people have entrusted them, and on a deliberative process that at least aspires to solemnity. I thought that was so well said. And I think we become too ironic, too flippant in our society, and we don't pause to really understand these sacred things that in many ways define who we are as Americans and get us to think a little bit beyond ourselves.
One of the examples that comes to mind is if you've ever seen debates and discussions in British Parliament.
Yes.
You know, where they start talking and they get booed and heckled, like brutally. And if you saw that here in America, and we have a little bit of it that happens, but you can just see when I'm watching British Parliament, it is unsettling. And I'm like, how do you even have a conversation when you're getting booed and heckled the entire time?
And that's a different tradition, right? Because they've done that forever in British Parliament. And you're right. And even if you cover the legislature, as I have for far too many years, everybody always says, my distinguished colleague, that's how they refer to each other, even if they're about to say something very negative about their distinguished colleague. But the very act of saying that, I think, elevates the conversation and puts us on a level where we ought to be when we're deliberating such important things.
The times that I've been to Arlington to cover not only stories as a journalist, but also personally, because one of my favorite places in the United States to visit, just on a vacation, even on a 4-day getaway, is Washington, D.C. I love going there. Is Arlington feels like a place to reflect, a place to, for me, pray, to be grateful for those who sacrificed, and not only for those who are laid to rest there, but also for the incredible sacrifice that their families have gone through. And to me, it's Arlington, and it is often other cemeteries as well.
Yes.
And going into a place like Arlington or another cemetery, and I think of the Veterans Memorial cemeteries that we have, and I just think of it as just a moment to be at peace. And to your point about treating sacred places like they're sacred, that's how I look at a place like Arlington.
I think one of the most spiritual experiences I've had in my life, and one of my earliest memories is of going next door to play with the little girl next door, as we did every day. We were 5 years old. And her grandmother answered and had obviously been crying because her daddy had been killed in Vietnam. And, this was 1964, 65. And a few years ago, if you go to the Vietnam Memorial, there's a big book there where you can look up people and you can find their names. And I remember finding his name, and it's not my father, but it meant so much to me to find that and to find his name on that memorial. And of course, that's not Arlington Cemetery, but that's a memorial on the mall, and so I think we can't treat these places lightly. They have messages to give us about who we are and what we value as a society. I think that's very important.
And I wonder how well we understand that, because when you talk about these sacred places, how many people know the history of it and why these places are sacred? And you may say, well, it's just common sense that you act a certain way, but I think there's a great deal of or a lack of knowledge or understanding of why some of these places are sacred and should be held with reverence.
I agree. There's a house, of course, at Arlington Cemetery where Robert E. Lee made the anguished choice to leave the U.S. Army and fight for the Confederacy. So much of our history is embodied just in that one cemetery, in that one place. There are former enslaved people who are buried there who worked on plantations that used to be there. Yes, we can't treat these places lightly. We have to cherish them and understand what they're trying to tell us.
Well, your opinion piece, as always, is a thoughtful reminder of how we should, in this case, be treating our sacred places. Thank you so much, Jay. Appreciate it. It's glad to have you back.
Thank you.
You've been gone for a little bit, and we've missed you. Jay Evenson, opinion editor of the Deseret News. You can read all of his opinion pieces at Deseret.com. And I did notice, Jay, that this opinion piece has garnered quite a few comments as well.
Yes.
Hundreds, actually, when I checked this morning. So there are a lot of people who are certainly weighing in with their opinions on your opinion piece. So thank you, as always, for joining us. Jay Evenson, check out his latest opinion piece at Deseret.com.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. Our top story this hour. Breaking news, an 8-year-old boy who accidentally shot himself at a gas station in Lehi has passed away. Witnesses said the boy found the gun in his parents' car. The boy was taken to the hospital in critical condition with a head wound and passed away this morning. A nonprofit has purchased Chad Daybell's home in eastern Idaho. The couple that runs SJ Healing Crossroads says they rushed to buy Daybell's $350,000 home after they heard rumors that someone wanted to turn it into an Airbnb. This home is where Chad allegedly murdered the bodies of his 2 youngest kids and plotted the murder of his first wife. The nonprofit tells KSL-TV they plan to demolish the home and turn it into a place of, quote, peace, healing, and hope. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. There's a battle brewing for control of Southwest Airlines, and ABC's Jim Ryan is in Dallas.
The hedge fund Elliott Investment Management now holds 10% of Southwest Airlines common stock, according to Reuters. That investor group previously has demanded the ouster of the carrier's CEO and its executive chairman. 10% is the threshold that's needed to call an emergency shareholders meeting. CEO Robert Jordan has promised to fight the calls for his removal.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down substantially on the day right now, 452 points. The NASDAQ is down 433, S&P 500 down 84 right now. And our KSL weather looks like a sunny and warm day again, but there is a chance of a thunderstorm. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
When I was first introduced to Mountain Home Services, it was when my furnace went out, and I gave them a call. They came out. I loved their service. I loved their price. They installed my furnace, and for years, it's just hummed along beautifully. They would do the annual service. Well, we got some exciting news. Mountain Home Services and Master Electrical Service, they've joined together.
Yeah, this is awesome because now, of course, you can still count on Master Electrical Service for all of your electric needs, like your EV chargers, your recessed lighting, those outlets that have been bothering you that you know you need to get fixed. But you couple that with them joining Mountain Home Services, and they can do even more.
Yeah, so you've got your electrical needs taken care of, as well as your HVAC, that heating and air, your plumbing, all comes with that upfront pricing guarantee that you know so well from Master Electrical.
Yeah, upfront pricing guarantee means there are no hidden fees, and as always, 100% satisfaction guaranteed.
They're the company we trust, and so can you. Go ahead and learn more about Mountain Home Services by going to their website, mountainhomeutah.com. That's mountainhomeutah.com.
Or you can call them, 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
Many people worry they're not making the right investment choices inside their 401ks. Did you know that you might have a little-known opportunity to add some additional investment choices to your 401k and get the help and recommendations you've been looking for? This exciting feature is called a self-directed brokerage window. And the best part? The money still stays within your 401k. Learn how the trusted advisors at Capital Wealth may be able to expand your investment portfolio. To learn more, call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Improving your 401k might mean the difference of retiring a few years earlier. Let's find out. Schedule your no-cost 15-minute consultation with the Capital Wealth team today. Call or text the word VISIT to 801-877-9800 or go to CapitalWealth401k.com. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
Trail mix, beef jerky,
mixing all the soda flavors at the gas station soda machine. Snacks are better on the road. The gas is better when it's top tier. And the pit stop is better when there's a dinosaur there. Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with DinoCare, our top-tier gasoline. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute, and a big green dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com. Sinclair, fill up your life.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Lynn Thomas.
Well, Dan, just when the crash on northbound I-15 clears at 114th South, another one crops up, also northbound I-15, this one at 154th South there. 2 vehicles and an ambulance on the left shoulder. And yet another accident, southbound 15 on the right shoulder at 13th South to watch for. In Davis County, we have a crash reported westbound SR 225 at Park Lane. Not seen any delays or even seen this one in the camera. Don't miss the sale of the season. Nani's luxury blanket warehouse sale, Saturday, September 14th, 11 to 6. Substantial savings on up to 70% off. Saranani's warehouse sale, Saturday, September 14th. Details, visit saranani.com. Len Thomas in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy with a high of 90 and a chance for thunderstorms this afternoon and evening. Drier and cooler tomorrow and Thursday. And right now, 81 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomis from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I think we should play the wedding march here. We're going to talk about the expense of weddings and how some couples are trying to defray the cost by selling you a ticket to their wedding.
This is so bold and impressive.
I thought you were going to say embarrassing.
Oh, it's definitely embarrassing. But just on some level, you have to respect the audacity somebody has to invite you to their wedding, expect a present, but in addition to that, ask you to pay for it.
Would you?
No, not to my own child's wedding. Would I gotta be like, hey, good luck on your own, buddy.
So let's talk about what the New York Times is reporting on. And that is that, first of all, weddings are a lot of money. They're on average now about $35,000. And this is from a website called The Knot, which does a bunch of stuff on weddings. And they polled like 10,000 kiddos who are getting married. They're not kids, but they are to me. And they said on average it's like $35,000. Well, then the New York Times takes it a step further, and they talk to a 23-year-old who's getting married, and what was the ticket price, or what was the tab on his wedding? $100,000?
Yeah, it was 6 figures.
It was $100,000, a 6-figure wedding. And you said when I first read this aloud, you immediately said, "Oh, destination wedding."
Yeah, that's what I thought. You were going to end on the moon. Everyone's invited to the moon. We're going to land, jump on Elon's spaceship. Because how do you spend over $100,000 on a wedding? I couldn't do it if I was trying to. I wouldn't even know what you could pay for that.
So you thought the moon. I thought, well, maybe Maui seemed a little more reasonable. No, it's in Houston.
Destination wedding,
Texas.
Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the summer where your face will melt off.
Oh, our producers found a video that he posted on TikTok. This is a 23-year-old who's spending $100,000 on his wedding, and he's already put a lot of money into it. I don't know if this is the total price or he's paid like a lot of deposits, but he's charging. The takeaway is, if you want to attend his wedding, Dave, it's $450 a ticket.
$450 per ticket. So help me, your DJ better be Taylor Swift.
All right, TikTok, tell me if I'm tripping or not. So me and my fiance, we are getting married, right? And to be a part of our wedding, you have to pay $450 for a ticket, and that's for each guest. So we invited friends and family to our wedding. Tell me why everybody that we invited has declined the invitation. We already have spent $100, maybe almost close to $200,000 on the wedding. We have already pre-ordered the cake. We already put down a deposit for the venue. We've already got the wedding dress. everything. We pay for everything for the wedding. DJ, photographer, everything for the wedding. And what I don't understand is that y'all spend more money on stupid stuff, but you can't come out to support your family and your friends at a wedding.
Okay. You have to sell me better on what you're offering, buddy. I don't care about how beautiful that dress is. It doesn't benefit me. Now, if you bring Maroon 5 or Kelly Clarkson to, sing the first dance, all right, maybe you could entice me a little bit more, but I'm going to need a little return on investment here, my man.
So, as we said, weddings are now on average $35,000, according to the Knot. What I'm thinking about is, how does it get to be $100,000 or more than that, or $200,000? And when I listened to that video, I was like, that's a wide berth. Like, that's a really vast difference between $100,000 and $200,000. I know weddings can add up to be a lot more than the price that you set as your budget. But the big question is $450. That's the question, at least we're exploring right now, is the ticket to go to a wedding. Look, attending a wedding, I love going to weddings. I will be at your wedding. I'll be a wedding crasher. That's how much I love going to weddings. First of all, I cry. I don't even know the bride and the groom, and I'm weeping. I'm super excited for the couple and the family, and everything's usually just so perfect and beautiful. But unless I'm crashing it, of course, it costs me money to go to the wedding, right? I'm gonna give you a generous gift.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to probably have to buy a new dress. Maybe I can recycle an older
you're buying
dress.
a new dress, right?
Usually,
Sure, yeah.
right? I got to get there. If it's out of town, maybe I have to get a hotel room for a night, or have to make arrangements. Okay, it's not $450 likely, although, a gift could be a couple $100 depending on who you're buying it for, how close you are to them. But I'm probably at least $300 to $400 into that wedding. Now you tack on another $450 so I can get into the wedding. And
You're
you wonder
$1,000 into
why
this thing.
People are saying no, because the average cost of attending a wedding already, is more than what I just stated. It's $580, according to another study by the same website, The Knot. We love The Knot today. The Knot, KNOT, like you get it, tied the knot. So
I'm going to say not to the ticket, the $450 ticket.
How about a cheaper wedding?
Yeah. Okay, so I think the amount of money we spend on weddings right now is absurd. Obviously, this guy that's spending $100,000 or $200,000 on a wedding then wants everybody else to bankroll it. You're insane. But let's talk about the $35,000 wedding, which is just, the average wedding that's out there.
That's a lot.
$35,000. And then what if you have, like my father-in-law, 5 daughters? He has 5 kids, all of them daughters. That's 5 weddings. So, yeah, $35,000 is brutal. If you have, a couple kids, couple daughters, then all of a sudden you're $70,000 or $100,000 into it. And that's just the average wedding. That's the boring wedding that they're probably not even, happy with. Here is, I will never, ever forget this story from CBS. They said they did some studies about the extravagant, expensive weddings. And they said there is an inverse relationship to how much money you spend on the wedding and how long the marriage lasts. The more you spend, the more likely it is that the marriage will end.
Mm-hmm.
That right there told me everything I need to know about spending $100,000 or even $35,000 on a wedding.
Yeah, because when you're just spending frivolously on a wedding and you're not negotiating a better budget, there's no wheeling and dealing that needs to go on if you're just spending and spending and spending. And I think one of the best moments as a new couple or those who are looking at being newlyweds is to sit down and negotiate how much you're going to spend on the wedding, negotiate how big that guest list is going to be, negotiate if Aunt Betty is going to be bringing the buffet, or if you're going to get the hotel to lay out the buffet at $45 a person. And then cutting the guest list can become an entire marriage encounter, pre-marriage encounter. So if you're negotiating early on, you get a better idea of how you're both going to act with money. And when the sky's the limit on a wedding, I just think it just sets you up for problems in the marriage. So that could be, in my view, why marriages have more troubles the more expensive the wedding is.
That $450 ticket this guy's asking for, the $450, if he had 222 people show up, he'd pay for the wedding. You'd need 222 people. I don't want to call them suckers. You'll need 222 suckers to cough up $450 per ticket to pay for your wedding, buddy.
What if I'm bringing a plus one? I'm out 900?
900.
Okay, so would you buy a ticket to attend a wedding?
At any price. Obviously, nobody's saying yes to $450. This guy, his own family's not showing up for $450 a ticket. But would you pay any amount? Like, what if it was a $35 ticket? What's your cutoff? Because you're going to show up at some point. What's the cutoff number per ticket? 801-575-TALK. Would you pay to attend a wedding, and what is that number? What's your cutoff number? 801-575-TALK. Let's hear it.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Join KSL on the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1 at the Salt Lake NPS store, 1600 Empire Road in Salt Lake City. That's npsstore.com.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
The Utah RV Super Show, the premier RV event of the year, is back at the Mountain America Expo Center, Thursday, September 12th through Sunday, September 15th. Come see new 2025 models and special closeout pricing on all 2024 models. Bring a can of food for the Utah Food Bank and get $1 off per can, up to half off adult admission. Unplug from distractions and plug in to your family at the Utah RV Super Show. Discount passes at UtahRVSupershow.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
It's happening at pharmacies all across America. Older Americans keep asking, where are the lower prices on prescription drugs Joe Biden and Kamala Harris keep taking credit for? First, Harris cast the deciding vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, promising to lower drug prices. Then the Biden-Harris administration used the money from Medicare to bankroll their liberal green agenda. That's right. Instead of savings, seniors got a 20% premium increase, restrictions on access to medicine, and fewer cures. Now, liberals want to expand this Biden-Harris scheme that is already hurting seniors. Thankfully, Congressman Blake Moore has always fought to protect Medicare drug coverage. Call him at 202-224-3121. Urge him to keep fighting for affordable drug coverage by opposing H.R. 4895. Paid for by Seniors for Better Care.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, an 8-year-old boy who was accidentally shot in the head last night in Lehi has passed away. Second, Chet Daybell's home near Rexburg, Idaho will not become an Airbnb. The group that bought it plans to tear it down. And third, an investor is challenging the leadership of Southwest Airlines. 81 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Would you pay to buy a ticket to get into a wedding? That is I don't know if it's a total trend, but this is what the New York Times is reporting on when they spotted a story of a TikToker who took to his TikTok page. Let me see if I can get back to that audio real quick. And he said, hey, he's charging people $450 to buy a ticket to his wedding to defray the $100,000 to $200,000 wedding tab.
All right, TikTok, tell me if I'm tripping or not. So me and my fiance, we are getting married, right? And to be a part of our wedding, you have to pay $450 for a ticket, and that's for each guest. So we invited friends and family to our wedding. Tell me why everybody that we invited has declined the invitation. We already have.
I think you answered it yourself, buddy. And yes, you are tripping. If you want to know, tell me if I'm tripping or not, that is a 100% gold star guarantee tripping event. If you think you're going to get everybody to pay $450 to show up for the honor of showing up to your wedding, what in the world are you thinking?
Well, they're trying to help with the costs because this is one of those fabulous locations, where you escape to. You have this beautiful backdrop of a wedding. I'm sure their wedding is going to be at a beautiful location. But Dave initially thought, well, maybe it's the moon. Everybody's flying to the moon for $450 to watch this ceremony. I thought maybe Maui. No, it's Houston, like as in Texas. So 100 to 200,000. Eventually, you'll hear him on that audio on that TikTok video saying it's maybe even more than $100,000. Weddings are expensive. The average price, though, is nowhere near $100,000. It's more like they surveyed like 10,000 people who'd been married. It's right around $35,000. And even that is a huge ouch. So the question we're asking is, would you pay whatever price? You said doesn't matter. You wanted our listeners to weigh in. Doesn't matter if it's $35. Would you pay for a ticket to get into a wedding? 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK.
Let's go with Mike in Eagle Mountain. What do you think? Would you pay for a ticket to go to the wedding?
Hi, Mike.
Absolutely not. It's not my wedding. I'm not going to pay for it. But if I were to entertain going to that $450 wedding, I would send him a note with my acceptance along with a bill for $450 for my suit, travel expenses, and hotel room.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's so crazy about this is you're already, when you're invited, you're paying a lot of money out of pocket to travel and go. And I wonder how many brides and grooms think about that, think about the cost. Mm-hmm. And when you're making a list, like you better be the best man, right? If we just kind of willy-nilly throw out, hey, you're invited to my wedding. It just happens to be in Maui. Love to see you there. Like, we went to school in the 3rd grade. We're not that close, buddy.
This doesn't even cover the cost of any sort of like bachelor party or bachelorette party that I've heard a lot of people also saying is kind of financially draining them, because those are now becoming more destination gatherings. And so, friends of the bride or friends of the groom are spending a lot of money to go to these pre-wedding parties. And that doesn't even include the cost of a ticket to get into the wedding or a gift. We also have a lot of Facebook comments. I can start reading through those as well. We posted this earlier today on our KSL News Radio Facebook page that we're going to be talking about this. Would you pay for a ticket? Would you buy a ticket to get into a wedding?
I think this. If you can't afford the wedding, then don't have that wedding.
One of our commenters on Facebook said that. Can't afford it, don't have that wedding. Go elope, is what they said.
We kind of took this when we were having like a birthday party with our kids. Like, hey, this is the budget. What do you want to do? We can have a party at home. Or you can just take a couple of friends and go do something cool. But here is the budget, and you can spend it however you want. I wonder how many times people have weddings that they simply cannot afford. Listen, if you have money to burn and you want to spend $100,000 on a wedding or $200,000 on a wedding like these guys, that's fine. If that's how you want to spend your money, great. More power to you. But if you're asking the guests to help subsidize this and pay for this, it's so profoundly inappropriate. And quite honestly, you're probably ruining relationships by doing this.
Well, no, they're the ones setting the price. You get this invitation in the mail and it says $450 a ticket. So Scott on our Facebook, KSL News Radio Facebook page, equates this to a restaurant charging for the tip before providing the service.
Oh,
yeah.
Now listen, are there things that I will pay $450 for? Yeah, absolutely. Like there are certain once in a lifetime events. We spend money on crazy stuff. Of course we do. And think, oh, we'll spend $10,000 on a vacation or $40,000 on a car or $70,000 on a vehicle or $1 million on a home. Like we all have to kind of figure out what is important to me. And I think when you're asking someone, to pay for your wedding, you're just assuming, you're making this assumption that, well, it's kind of narcissistic, that this is important to you. This is why you need to pay me the money.
One of our texters at 57500, I'm just kind of sorting through this, says, a neighbor of theirs was married very recently, and her parents spent $1 million on the wedding. And then they said, no kidding. They used a local church as the staging grounds for trucks. Yeah. I mean, it just sounds super elaborate. Most of the neighbors were not invited. This texter says, my husband and I have been married 56 years. Our wedding was a homemade wedding, made our own dress, made our own decorations, made their own refreshments, and their wedding was about $3,000.
How many years ago?
56 years ago.
Okay, I did a little calculation.
Okay.
I went to the CPI inflation calculator. $3,000 56 years ago, my friend, is a $25,000 wedding today.
Oh.
So yeah, $3,000 doesn't sound like a lot.
Yeah.
But back in 1960, whatever.
Congratulations, by the way. That's amazing that you've been married that long.
That's a good run.
Incredible.
But
what you're saying is like we're just trying to say, well, my wedding was inexpensive, and but it's in today's dollars, it would be $25,000.
Yeah, 50 years from now, $35,000 is not going to sound that bad, or $100,000. But I will say this: weddings, the expense of the wedding right now is skyrocketing, and I just love this research. And I saw this in a story from CBS News, and it said, the amount of money you spend does not guarantee that the marriage is going to last. In fact, it's the inverse. The more money you spend on the wedding, the less likely the marriage is going to survive. That right there, that's all I need to know. Like, that's all I need to know. Why not to have an expensive wedding?
Well, and I think we lose sight of it when we're trying to worry about the cost of the food and the decorations and whether it's going to, all of the things, where we're going to hold it, what it's going to look like, and the rising. We lose sight of what's really important, and that is two people are uniting in marriage, and sometimes just keeping it simple. Well, usually keeping life simple is better.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. An 8-year-old boy who police say accidentally shot himself in the head at a gas station in Lehi yesterday has died. Doug Shields was filling up his car when this happened. He tells KSL TV he helped the boy's mother to the curb while others tried to help her son.
She goes, he found the gun under my seat and pulled the trigger. Apparently it's an accident. It was a total accident.
Shields says he overheard the boy's mom say they'd come to the gas station to get a treat. Lehigh police say the boy was taken to the hospital in extremely critical condition, died this morning from his injuries. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. At least 47 people have died and 200 injured by a deadly airstrike in eastern Ukraine. Russian missiles hit a hospital and college in the city of Poltava. Ukrainian forces say this was the work of a type of Russian missile that's very hard to shoot down. Ukraine's president has been asking the United States to allow the weapons it supplies to be used on the Russian side of the border. The U.S. says its position on that has not changed. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down now 506 points on the day. The NASDAQ is down 447 points, about 2.5%. The S&P 500 right now is down 89. And our KSL weather looks like another sunny, hot day, but there is a chance for a thunderstorm. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
It's me again, and of course, I'm at the annual Fall Extravaganza at J&J Garden Center in Layton. And what a great time to buy. Right now, all containerized trees, all shrubs, and all perennials are 20% off. You heard me right. J&J's entire inventory of containerized trees, shrubs, and perennials are 20% off their regular price. J&J Garden Center definitely has the best products at the best price and most definitely the best service too. But don't take my word for it. Come experience J&J Garden Center for yourself. Take advantage of their incredible fall tree, shrub, and perennial extravaganza. Take the Layton Parkway exit, Main Street to Gentile, then west 2 miles. You've got to see it to believe it. You really do.
Country grown to your home. J&J Garden Center.
None of these 7 people scored the winning touchdown in last year's championship game. None have gone into space or gone on tour with Taylor Swift. Yet 7 special people in the community deserve your attention. And September 7th at the Utah Valley Convention Center, starting at 6 p.m., you can give it to them. Join Community Action Services and Food Bank in celebrating the contributions of 7 extraordinary members of the community. Then see the premiere of the Food and More store, a pop-up giving experience you can only experience at this event. Plus, you'll have the chance to peek inside their new mobile food pantry. Dinner, live music, entertainment. Get details now on how you can be a part of this exceptional community night. Visit casfb.org and learn more about the evening, the individuals being honored, and how to be there to take it all in. casfb.org. Community Action Services and Food Bank, providing food and more to neighbors in need in Wasatch, Summit, and Utah counties.
Boyd Matheson. Listening to Inside Sources is a little different from just reading the headlines because we're always going to get you into that think again moment. We have experts from around the country, across the world, and right here local to home that'll help us dive in and get past just the hype, the fluff, the fake fights, and the false choice so we can get into the news to help you connect the dots and make the news make sense.
Join Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Mark Christiansen.
Well, the only problem has just cleared, actually, between I-80 headed towards the downtown area. The right lane was a little bit slow due to some cars off to the side being worked on. HP just drove away. Traffic is picking back up now. No problems on the 215 east or west side. Utah and Davis County in the clear as far as I-15 goes at the moment. The UACPA supports certified public accountants in Utah through ongoing professional education and leadership development. Find a CPA that works for you. UACPA.org. Mark Christiansen in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy skies with a high of 90 and a chance for thunderstorms this afternoon and evening. Drier and cooler tomorrow and Thursday. And right now, 82 degrees with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, we're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
We got word, I'm sure many people have heard by now, about the 6 hostages were found dead in Gaza. They were Israelis, and one of them was an Israeli-American hostage. He was 23 years old. He had immigrated from California to Israel many years ago. And his parents have really been at the forefront of trying to keep hope alive that he and others would survive this.
We became absolutely certain that you were coming home to us alive, but it was not to be. Now I no longer have to worry about you. I know you are no longer in danger.
And just such a sad situation for these family members. And also protesters taking to the streets in Israel are not happy that there has not been a ceasefire deal made at this point in exchange for the hostages. And here's what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said in regards to the deceased hostages.
We're asked to make concessions? What message does this send Hamas? It says, kill more hostages.
Boyd Matheson joins us right now, Boyd, and this is a really important question that they're trying to figure out. Is it the fault of the Israeli government for not finalizing a ceasefire and getting the hostages back at basically any cost? Or are you just empowering Hamas and saying the more you murder and the more terror you spread, the more negotiating power you have?
Yeah, it is a tough one to be sure, and there's a couple of components to this. There's the pure political component to it, and all of the levers of power that both sides are trying to pull, as well as the international community. And then, of course, you have this very human element that I want to make sure we don't lose in all of this. We're actually going to have Rabbi Avrami Zippel is going to join us today at 1:20. You may remember that one of those that was killed, Ori Danino, his mother actually came to Utah and spoke about what her son did, how he went back so heroically to help friends. And so I want to make sure we keep those things very distinct as we go through all of this. And so to your point, Dave, I think it is interesting. Clearly things have shifted. Were there opportunities early on where the Netanyahu regime could have come to terms with some of those things? Possibly. You don't know until, with hostage negotiations and those kind of peace settlements, you don't know until you know at the end. We do know that Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel accepted the latest proposal from the Biden administration, and yet nobody from Hamas showed up to the negotiations. And so I think there's plenty of blame to go all the way around. The thing that is most troubling and most concerning to me is how these 6 hostages were killed, because clearly they have shifted. Hamas has shifted. Whereas before they would try to move these hostages through tunnels and hide them and move them around, they've clearly shifted to, if there's any doubt as to whether or not the Israeli forces will rescue them, you don't allow that to happen.
Well, my early read this morning of the timeline is these 6 were recently killed, Boyd.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that is because again, the accounts that I'm getting and what I'm hearing from some of my sources back in D.C. is that the Israeli forces were getting close. They were working their way in and through there. It was kind of around the city of Rafah in all of those underground tunnel systems, and it seemed to me that they were getting close, that the Israeli forces were close enough to where the Hamas fighters took their lives.
So how does that not set back peace talks in an exponential way? If that's the level of escalation, is as soon as we are about to rescue or try to rescue, that they're going to just start killing these hostages.
Yeah, so clearly that's now Hamas feels like they have the upper hand because they're showing that, these lives aren't as important to us as you think. We're willing to just expend them. And so that kind of changes the dynamic there. And then you've also had, as you mentioned right off the top, Debbie, in terms of what's happening inside of Israel and the pressure, the protests around the Netanyahu government. They haven't done enough. And so there's a lot of frustration inside of Israel. You've got the U.S., President Biden saying Benjamin Netanyahu needs to do more. You've got the UK suspending some of their weapons shipments, a portion of those into Israel. So the international pressure is starting to change as well. And part of this is what happens when you're negotiating, not with a government or a nation state, but with a terrorist organization that's funded from the outside.
Which is Hamas.
Yes.
Yeah. So it sounds like, given all of the recent events, that a ceasefire deal is not any closer than we were, for example, last week.
Yeah, I don't think there's been any advancement other than everyone who's been at the table seems to be pretty close to agreeing what is on the table. Hamas just isn't at the table currently. So some things go back through Qatar. They're kind of the go-between, the liaison there. There is one of the main sticking points for Israel is this little corridor called the Philadelphia Corridor. They're down towards the border of Egypt, and this is where a lot of the weapons that get smuggled in for Hamas come through. Again, mostly funded by Iran, but they're coming through that corridor. And so Israel has said, hey, we're going to maintain a force and a presence there because the last thing we want to do is allow Hamas to reconstitute themselves and rearm themselves. And so that's one of the big sticking points is, will there be any Israeli forces left, even in that corridor towards the Egypt border?
Does anything change for America or the way that we support Israel with the fact that one of these hostages that was murdered was an American?
It should. And this is one of the things I've been talking about from the beginning. It is so easy for us to push this far away, that this is not about the U.S., this is not about America. We've had hostages from day one. We're almost 365 days into this. And those are American citizens. And to me, I don't think we did nearly enough in the early days of what took place in Gaza. I don't think we put near enough force and near enough action into it. And this is what happens when your approach is to ratchet down at all costs to make sure nothing escalates. Things don't just go away; they just bubble up a little slower, and they ooze out in different places. And I think we're seeing that not only in terms of Hamas inside of Gaza, but then we also have the Houthis and some of those other terrorist organizations that have been very emboldened over the last 300 plus days.
Boyd and Dave, I'm just watching a feed right now on CNN, the lower monitor there here in studio. I can't tell for certain if that is live feed out of Tel Aviv. It looks like it is a live feed out of Tel Aviv. It looks like numerous people poured into the streets there. It looks very peaceful. And we've been reading reports from earlier today that say that a lot of the residents are there. Citizens are very, very upset at the way Netanyahu has handled this whole thing.
Yeah, and I think it's important to keep that in context, too, because Benjamin Netanyahu was in political trouble long before the events of October the 7th. He was doing things with the judiciary, trying to reorder and consolidate power there. There were massive, massive protests in the streets all over Israel, demanding he step down or demanding a coalition government be formed. And so this is one of those interesting things in terms of the day the journey begins is not the day the journey begins. And while Israel has been on a journey mostly united since October the 7th, before that journey was a journey of great mistrust and distrust of Benjamin Netanyahu as a leader and of his coalition as a governing entity. And so you can see when you don't have that trust in the leaders, then when things like this happen, you can say, oh, well, you didn't do enough because it was better for you politically. And that's why all of us, let's bring this right back to home, that's why we all have to look at the people that we vote for and say, okay, if this plays out in my neighborhood or my state or our country, do I trust that person to do the right thing, or are they going to do the politically right thing for them?
And far too often they do what's the politically right thing for them. Boyd, thank you for joining us.
Boyd, we'll be listening to your show this afternoon. Thanks so much for bringing us up to date on the latest of what's going on in Israel and Gaza. And we got some really sad news in the 10 o'clock hour of our show. We broke it here live just after 10 o'clock. The Lehi Police Department sending out a news release that an 8-year-old boy who'd accidentally shot himself last night in the head while the car that he was in was parked outside of a convenience store in Lehi, has passed away. And it is another in a line of self-inflicted gunshots, wounds and fatal injuries that have taken the lives of young children in Utah. So straight ahead, we're going to have a discussion with a firearms instructor about the one thing he wants parents to know about firearm safety.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only. Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only. Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
This Friday.
At the 50, the 40.
It's BYU's first away game of the season.
Touchdown, Cougars! Rise and shout!
BYU, Southern Methodist University. Pre-game from Dallas starts at 3 with kickoff at 5. Make sure you're listening as you drive home on Utah's legacy home for the Cougars. KSL News Radio.
When it comes to our homes, stains in your carpet can be really frustrating. It can be easy to think you need harsh chemicals or detergents to get them out, but these always leave behind soapy residue, which ends up attracting more dirt to the area. That's why you should trust Zero-Res to get out tough stains and regularly clean your surfaces. Zero-Res uses ZR water to deeply clean carpets without any icky residue. Right now, mention KSL and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning for just $109. Plus 20% off air duct cleaning. Book now at zerores.com.
It's one thing falling in love with a house, picturing yourself moving in and calling it home, and quite another navigating the world of price negotiating, mortgage lenders, and finding the budget that works best for you. An agent who's a realtor can make understanding that world easier. Realtors have the expertise, access to proprietary data, and tools to help you get from imagining living somewhere to actually doing it. That's the kind of help we can provide. Because that's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
At the UPS store, we understand the importance of a first impression. That's why we're here to help you put your best foot forward and be unstoppable with our printing services. With high-quality paper stock options, Banners, business cards, menus, and more. We make sure your small business stands out and your message reaches the masses. After all, we're the one-stop prints that pop store. Most locations are independently owned. Product, services, prices, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable. Come into your local store today and get your print on.
Nearly 70% of Utah's land is controlled by the federal government, severely limiting Utah's ability to actively manage and protect our natural resources. Our families, businesses, and communities know there's a better way. Utahns have been good stewards of our public lands for generations. That's why we're asking each and every Utahn to get informed, speak up, and learn more at standforourland.utah.gov.
If you need a new roof, there's a reason IWC Roofing is the #1 residential roofing contractor in Utah. IWC has been replacing roofs for 27 years. They are professionals. You don't get some janky subcontractor fiddling around up there. You get experienced IWC employees on your roof, and they finish most jobs in a single day. They're in, they're out, and they power wash your driveway just to say thank you. Now you're wondering about the price. After all, IWC is one of the few Owens Corning Platinum certified contractors in the entire state, but they offer value pricing, and right now, take advantage of their fall special. $2,000 off your quote. And of course, they'll work with you on financing, so call IWC Roofing, the highest rated roofing contractor in Utah, plus $2,000 off. Right now, call IWC Roofing, 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690, or go to IWCRoofingUtah.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, an 8-year-old boy who accidentally shot himself in the head at a gas station in Lehi has died. Second, Russian missiles hit a hospital and college in eastern Ukraine, killed at least 47 people. And third, another team of Utah firefighters has been deployed to fight a huge wildfire in Idaho. 82 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
There's an absolutely devastating scene that unfolded last night just after 7:30 at a convenience store / gas station in Lehi. And we got word a little earlier this morning that an 8-year-old boy who had accidentally shot himself, from what we know, had died. We got word this morning at about 10 o'clock that the police department in Lehi has announced his death. And from what KSL5 television, as well as our reporters here at KSL News Radio have been able to gather while this scene was unfolding, is that the boy's mother had gone inside the convenience store, and the boy was inside the car when the shooting happened.
And then she goes, he shot himself. And I first thought suicide. And she goes, he found the gun under my seat and pulled the trigger. Apparently it's an accident. It was a total accident.
An absolutely horrible accident, devastating, and to find out that he just passed away, this young 8-year-old boy died, it is heartbreaking. But Debbie, you and I have been doing this for a long time now. We've been in the news business, and we've covered this story over and over and over again. And I think something that we don't do a good job of addressing and acknowledging is, and I don't know if this is the case in this specific scenario, but are we doing enough to educate our kids about how to handle guns safely, the dangers of them? Because there's no question kids are enormously curious when it comes to guns.
Clark Aposhian, you've been on the show many times. A lot of people in our community know you as a firearm or gun safety instructor. Let's just start here. I mean, given yet another tragedy involving a gun and a child, is there one thing that you want parents to know about kids and guns that they need to be particularly aware of at all times?
Well, Debbie, Dave, there's more than one thing. The most important thing is you've got to always secure your firearms against unauthorized access, as your situation warrants. I mean, if you live alone in a van down by the river, then you're fine. But if at any point in time during the day, during the week, whatever, if you have someone who shouldn't have access to a firearm and you have firearms there in that realm, you've got to secure them. And luckily, there are so many simple ways to do it. You've got trigger locks. You've got cable locks. You can oftentimes get them free of charge from the library, from the police station, from the fire department. I know Utah BCI has them, and they're given out under a grant program through National Shooting Sports Foundation. Or just go buy one. They're super cheap. You can get them at Walmart. You don't have to go to a gun store to get these things. But the other thing is teach your kids. So you may secure your firearms in your home from your kids. Okay. What about when they go to a friend's house? How do you know that has happened? So how about a little extra layer? How about like drown-proofing your kids, telling them how to stay afloat in water if they fall in? Teach your kids about firearms. And if you don't feel, good enough to do that, then reach out to the NRA, to the NSSF, to the local gun stores. They will put you in touch with somebody who can very, very simply teach age-appropriate type instruction for that. Now, we have tried to get that in the schools. We have tried year after year and constantly been rebuffed by the UEA and Utah PTA, but that's no excuse. Get it done in your own home. Please don't rely on hiding the gun or putting it out of reach as your sole way to restrict access to it. Use a locking device. And there's many instant access ones out there you can get for like $50, and some of them even fingerprint ones, key ones, dial combination ones. There's no excuse to not have an appropriate locking device to deny access to anyone who shouldn't have access to it.
Is there one thing, or is there something that will help satisfy the curiosity of a child? Because I think they do have an enormous curiosity in general, and then obviously guns being around. How do we teach our kids, or how do we help satisfy that curiosity?
Excellent question, Dave. And for so long, it's in some households, it's been a taboo subject. Oh my gosh, we either don't like guns, or we want to hide these guns from the kids and not even talk about them, pretend they don't exist. Let the conversation come up. There's enough opportunities in daily life, watching TV, that they organically will come up. Use that as an opportunity to address the issue with firearms. If you see somebody, it doesn't take long watching a TV show to see somebody using a firearm. Use that as an opportunity, an icebreaker to talk about that. Also, parents ask me, what's the right age to talk about, to teach your kids about guns? And I ask them, if you have kids and if you have guns, have they ever seen you handle a gun? And if they have seen you handle a gun, then you're already teaching them. Let's hope you're teaching them correctly.
Clark Kaposhian is a firearm safety instructor. He's on the show quite a bit. Unfortunately, here we are talking about yet another death. It's a child who got his hands on a gun. Witnesses at the gas station said the mom had told them it was under the seat of the car. She had, from what we know, stepped out of the vehicle at the time when the shooting happened, and he was inside the vehicle. And I'm looking up the biometric fingerprint trigger lock right now, Clark, and I'm seeing one on Walmart for about $90. Does that sound... Do these things work? And
they absolutely work.
They do. Okay, and it's just a fingerprint, a fingerprint.
Biometrics.
Okay, so it's just a fingerprint on the lock that you just put your finger up against it, and then it unlocks it, huh?
Yes, exactly. It can be that easy. They also have a key backup or a dial combination backup, and you can actually find them even cheaper than that on the the website, on like Amazon or something like that.
Okay.
Clark Kaposhian, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. A gun safety instructor, has been for years. Also a lobbyist, a gun lobbyist that has tried for a number of years, as you heard him say, trying to get some sort of curriculum into schools. I was looking back. The most recent one that I saw was back in 2021, where there was a push to put in high schools some sort of gun safety course, and it got struck down. It didn't really gain much, much support there. But I think there is a curiosity from kids at a very young age. Obviously, when they're watching television, at a very, very young age, they will see guns being used. And I think there is that level of curiosity that we don't want to admit to ourselves as parents. I certainly don't want to admit, is that our kids have the curiosity and probably have experimented without my knowledge.
Well, you
with a gun.
surprised me of a story of your own in the 9 o'clock hour when you said when you were a kid, you got curious, and without your parents' knowledge, you went and found the gun in the house, and you were checking it out. And I'm sure your mom hates that.
Yes.
She
hates this story.
Of course. I mean, but you really highlighted that. Yeah. I mean, you got curious.
My mom didn't know that I played with the gun back in my early teens. I don't know. Maybe I was in my mid-teens as well. I mean, I played with the gun, or I looked at the gun and examined it several times. She had no idea until I was in my 40s. Because I knew what I was doing was wrong. So when you ask your kids, hey, have you ever played with the gun? Have you looked at the gun? That's not the time when I would totally trust what your kids are saying. Like, oh, yeah, Dad, I went and I took your gun out of its cabinet and I fiddled around with it. I think it's part of the reason why we have to be very, very aware of where our gun is, how well it's secured, and do our kids have an age-appropriate knowledge of guns. And if you're asking, well, what's age appropriate? Well, I don't know. That's why we need experts. This is not my area of expertise. So we have to do some research. If we're going to have guns in our homes, if we're going to have guns in our purse or in our car, we have to make sure that we know how to handle it appropriately, and that our kids, we don't let their curiosity put them in a dangerous situation.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. An 8-year-old boy who accidentally shot himself at a gas station in Lehi has passed away. Witnesses said the boy found a gun in his parents' car. The boy was taken to the hospital in critical condition with a head wound, passed away this morning. The 100 deadliest days on Utah's roads have come to an end. Highway Patrol Sergeant Cam Roden says this year about one person died every day on Utah roads.
Everyone needs to focus on driving. Put the phone down, put the food down, whatever it is, and just focus on driving.
The Highway Patrol responded to well over 100 crashes over the Labor Day weekend alone. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A glitch in Chase Bank's online computer systems allowed people to withdraw money from their accounts by writing a fraudulent check. The discovery went viral on social media. A lot of people tried it. Now the bank is freezing some accounts and withdrawing the phony money, and the bank is demanding the money back. It could potentially mean jail time for the scammers. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 444 points. The NASDAQ is down 426. S&P 500 down 83. And our KSL weather looks like we could see a possibility of a thundershower this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
It's happening at pharmacies all across America. Older Americans keep asking, where are the lower prices on prescription drugs Joe Biden and Kamala Harris keep taking credit for? First, Harris cast the deciding vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, promising to lower drug prices. Then the Biden-Harris administration used the money from Medicare to bankroll their liberal green agenda. That's right. Instead of savings, seniors got a 20% premium increase, restrictions on access to medicine, and fewer cures. Now, liberals want to expand this Biden-Harris scheme that is already hurting seniors. Thankfully, Congressman Blake Moore has always fought to protect Medicare drug coverage. Call him at 202-224-3121. Urge him to keep fighting for affordable drug coverage by opposing H.R. 4895. Paid for by Seniors for Better Care.
Well, I've reached another milestone on my journey with soda weight loss. It's 6 months since I hit my goal and let go of 70 pounds of fat weight. And in those 6 months, I've managed to keep it off and still enjoy all the benefits of my journey, including a new wardrobe, a new sense of self-confidence, and most important of all, a set of new habits that are healthy and that will last me for the rest of my life. This is what makes soda so amazing. Of course, it's spelled S-O-T-A. I've now been enjoying the benefits of soda weight loss longer than it took me to let go of the fat in the first place. So think about, where do you want to be in 4 to 5 months? Start the program now and you could be down 50, 60, even 70 pounds by the holidays. Imagine showing your family and friends the new transformed you at Christmas. Check them out for yourself. Go to sotaweightloss.com. That's sotaweightloss.com and see for yourself why soda is #1 for client results and client satisfaction. SOTA stands for, say it with me, State of the Art.
Dave and Dujanovic.
What our listeners need to know is what's going on behind the scenes. We hold weekly meetings on how to do our jobs as talk show hosts, as journalists, better than we did them yesterday.
There's some very conservative voices. There's some very liberal voices. But there is space for both. And we're not at each other's throats. We're not yelling at each other. We're having a discussion.
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Mark Christiansen.
Calm freeways at the moment. Freeway speeds pretty much I-15 north and southbound through the Salt Lake Valley here. 215, the east and west side belt routes moving along well into Davis County. Just keep in mind, if you have to use Legacy, that north and southbound down to one lane just between 2500 south and 500 south in West Bountiful. Mark Christiansen in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy with a high of 90 and a chance for thunderstorms this afternoon and evening. Drier and cooler tomorrow and Thursday. And right now we're at 84 degrees with partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bonitz from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
As we keep an eye on November, which seems to be quickly approaching, we're going to be inviting the candidates who are running for political office on the air with us. And today's candidate is Caroline Gleich. She is running for the U.S. Senate seat that will be vacated by Senator Mitt Romney. And she's waiting on the line, Dave. And you've already had an opportunity to speak to her at a recent Deseret News editorial board meeting.
Yes, and this is not the typical candidate you think of because she's 38 years old. She's a professional athlete, a skier, a mountaineer, as a social media influencer. I'm looking at her social media page right now. She's got 222,000 followers. So, Caroline, thank you for joining us. And you are not a typical candidate for Senate, and you embrace that.
That's correct. And thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to chat with you a little bit about the campaign. And yes, I'm a political outsider. This is my first time running for office, and I was really inspired by Senator Romney's call for the next generation of leaders to step up, because it's our generation that's going to have to deal with the problems Congress is failing to address right now. So at 38 years old, I am the average age of America. Utah, with an average age of 30, is the youngest state and the fastest growing state in the nation. And meanwhile, the average age of the U.S. Senate is 65. Now, I'm all about respecting and hearing and making sure that we prioritize and, take in the leadership of older generations. But it is imperative that we have more of a diversity of ages and opinions represented in Congress to make better policy. And so I don't look like your typical U.S. Senator, and I think that is exactly what Utah needs right now.
And you're running as a Democrat, correct?
That is correct. I am the official Democratic nominee, so I will be on the ballot statewide November 5th.
One of the biggest issues facing Utahns and a number of young families across the nation is housing and lack of housing and housing affordability, and many cases as well, rent affordability. What is your plan to help American families, Utah families, deal with this, Caroline? And also, Democratic candidate for president Kamala Harris has come up with a pitch of her own, suggesting a $25,000 tax credit for home buyers. Do you support that plan?
I would absolutely support a $2,500 home buyer assistance tax incentive.
I think it's $25,000 though. It might.
Oh,
Dave,
sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. No, you're correct. $25,000. $2,500 with the rate of the current house, the average cost of a house in Utah. That wouldn't go very far. No, $25,000. I absolutely support that because getting a roof over our head is part of the American dream, and making sure that no one has to worry about losing their home because of a healthcare crisis or these other things, that is imperative. And I really want to see more of Utahns, especially first-time home buyers, be able to achieve that dream of home ownership. So yes, I would look forward to working with the Harris-Walz administration to making sure we could do that $25,000 home buyer assistance proposal, and that we do more to build more housing and to have more incentives, especially for caregivers and firefighters and people that are, of service in their communities. We need to make it so that people can afford to live in the communities in which they serve.
Looking at your campaign and obviously your Instagram page as a professional athlete, a skier, a mountaineer, I would imagine that climate, taking care of our resources, the outdoors would be a big part of your campaign. How would you describe it, and what would you want to push forward if you were to be elected?
Yes. I mean, here in Utah, the average Utahn dies 2 years earlier because of our poor air quality. When we have these bouts of bad air, we have an increase in so many public health crises, and that is cardiovascular, asthma, and it also really affects our mental health. And over 60% of young people have expressed having really big challenges with eco-anxiety and with this existential threat that is the climate crisis. And so taking action on the climate crisis, cleaning up our air, cleaning up our water, and protecting our public lands would be huge priorities for me on day one working in the United States Senate. And so that includes accelerating our transition to clean renewable energy, working on transmission projects so we can deliver more renewable energy via the grid, and really working hard also to make our public lands part of these climate solutions by advocating for policies like 30 by 30, which is a movement to protect and defend 30% of American public lands and waters by 2030.
Caroline Gleich is a candidate for U.S. Senate running for Senator Mitt Romney's seat. Of course, he's retiring, and that retirement's coming quickly. Of course, the November election is also approaching quickly. I see one of the other things that you want to focus on is childcare, and the cost is just so astronomical right now for the average family, especially if they have an infant and they're looking for newborn care. They either can't find it because there's not enough spots, or it's so expensive they have to sit down at the dinner table and make a choice over one person, one of the parents maybe quitting their job, resigning their position at work to stay home full time with the kids and raise them, and then that's not always ideal because everything else is so expensive. Do you have a one-stop solution to this issue that so many Utah families are facing?
Yeah, I mean, having traveled across the state and especially sitting down to talk with parents and moms, this is a huge issue because with the current cost of housing, families really do depend on both parents to be working, but with the cost of childcare, it's just such a big dilemma, and our mothers especially are struggling. And there's so much more that we could do. First of all, to ensure we have paid parental leave. Parents need more time, especially dads. I talked to one family where the dad got 2 weeks, the mom got 6 weeks. That's just barely enough time for families to get settled into breastfeeding and to taking care of a new infant. So I would want to see an expansion for paid family leave. I want to see more subsidies for childcare and really more support for our caregiver community, whether that's childcare or elder care, because we need to do a lot more to support caregivers and to recognize what a massive contribution they have to society. And then another thing I really heard from a lot of Utah women is to have paid time off if they experience infant loss or miscarriage. And this is actually related to my goals of cleaning up our air, because when we experience these bouts of poor air quality, there's a 16% increased rate of miscarriage in the Salt Lake Valley. And I talked to a lot of moms that have had these pregnancy losses and that have had to go to work while they're dealing with the physical and mental challenges of having a miscarriage. And so I would like to see more of a safety net for families that are experiencing those losses and hardships as well.
So if we are looking at housing tax credits, child tax credit, clean energy, child care subsidies, paid parental leave, how does this get paid for?
Yes, that's a great question. And we definitely need to do more to close some of the tax loopholes, especially for billionaires. I really think that the people that are in the top 1% of earners need to be doing more to pay their fair share. And we also need to be doing more to increase the federal minimum wage, because at $7.25 per hour, you know, if you go to buy groceries and pay $50 at the checkout line, that's equivalent to a full day work. So actually raising the minimum wage would reinvigorate the economy, because people will have more money to spend more. And I think over the COVID pandemic, we've really seen this growing gap between the richest Americans and the Americans that are struggling. And I would like to do more to help build resiliency for the middle class. And I really think that doing more to strengthen our caregiver economy, to help with those child care credits, will also help with our economy, because it's going to make sure that parents can stay in the workforce, and with the child care subsidies, and overall, I think it will have a net benefit.
Caroline Gleich, thank you for joining us. Candidate for U.S. Senate, it's the Democratic nominee as well. She'll be going against John Curtis, who's on the Republican side. So, Caroline, thank you for joining us.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I knew Mountain Home Services because they installed my furnace years ago. It has been years, and it was just humming along, doing great. I would get the occasional service where they'd come out, they'd clean things up, and it was great. And I was so happy with the furnace installed by Mountain Home Services. Well, we have some exciting news as well. They've joined Master Electrical Service, so we got some one-stop shopping going on here.
Yeah, but Master Electrical Service has been your trusted source for your electric needs, and they've been doing this for decades. Those are the outlets that you know you need to get fixed. That's the recessed lighting that you know needs to replace that 1970s lighting in your front room. It's your new EV charger you need to have installed. That's how you know Master Electrical. And the great thing about the fact that Master Electrical Service has joined Mountain Home Services is they can do even more for you.
Yeah, so it's the electrical services, the HVAC, heating and air, plumbing, you name it, they can take care of it. All comes with an upfront pricing guarantee.
100% satisfaction guarantee, and also means no hidden fees. They're the company we trust, and so can you.
Visit them at mountainhomeutah.com. That's mountainhomeutah.com.
Or give them a phone call. They love to hear from you. 801-543-2222. Again, that number is 801-543-2222.
What's better than one win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get one line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
Connie! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Our Labor Day savings start now at Lowe's. Right now, buy one, get one free on Valspar Reserve or HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams Infinity or Showcase Interior Paint via Lowe's gift card rebate. Whether you're painting one accent wall or want to freshen up a whole room, we've got you covered. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details. Valid through 9/4.
It's one thing falling in love with a house, picturing yourself moving in and calling it home, and quite another navigating the world of price negotiating, mortgage lenders, and finding the budget that works best for you. An agent who's a Realtor can make understanding that world easier. Realtors have the expertise, access to proprietary data, and tools to help you get from imagining living somewhere to actually doing it. That's the kind of help we can provide. Because that's who we are. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Attention commercial property managers and business owners. Say snowplow 3 times and who shows up? GoPave Utah. Clearing snow faster than you can say sandworms. That's GoPaveUtah.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Since 1974, Meals on Wheels has been serving Summit, Utah, and Wasatch counties, and its enduring commitment to nourishment and care has transformed it into an emblem of compassion. Board Chair Curtis Blair joins us with more.
Thanks, Derek. Meals on Wheels' mission is to improve the health and quality of life for our homebound seniors while fostering independence and ensuring no one is left hungry or isolated. Did you know that we serve over 1,300 meals daily and almost 250,000 meals annually through home delivery and in partnership with area senior centers? We're pleased to participate in the National Meals on Wheels America and the Wait campaign. In our service region alone, we currently have nearly 300 qualified homebound seniors waiting for nutritious, hot meals and social interaction because of budget constraints. We're in desperate need of new sponsors, partners, and individual donations to help us meet our mission of improving health and quality of life for all of our homebound seniors. Food is medicine, and we believe so is companionship. Together, we can ensure that those in need receive both. Waiting lists for this program should not exist. To help us end the wait, please contact us today. All donations stay here locally in our Utah service region.
Meals on Wheels has become a vital lifeline for those in need. To learn how you or your business can get involved, visit their website, mowsuw.org. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, an 8-year-old boy has died after accidentally shooting himself in Lehi. Second, the 100 deadliest days on Utah roads ended on Labor Day, and it wasn't a good summer for highway fatalities. And third, Chase Bank is going after scammers who learned about a computer glitch on social media that allowed them to withdraw real money after depositing a fraudulent check. 82 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
When Dave and I got really devastating news this morning that a child in Lehi had accidentally shot himself, critically wounded himself, and then this morning during the show we learned he's passed away. We wondered, have there ever been any studies done on the curiosity that kids have around guns? And lo and behold, we found one. And it was published last year in the Journal of the American Medical Association. It was conducted by Ohio State University. And we're going to talk about it for the next few minutes before we pass the show over to Maria Chaleos to give you an update on this 8-year-old boy and the situation that happened last night in Lehi.
And what they did is they created a scenario. They made a playroom. And then they had some kids, 8 to 12. Now, this is kids that knew each other, so it was cousins and friends. And what they'd do is they'd take 2 kids and they'd put them in this playroom. And the playroom had all sorts of fun stuff. They had Nerf guns and, little toys and board games. But they had this mysterious file cabinet. And what they wanted to do is find out how quickly these kids would go exploring and look in what was in the file cabinet. And when they pulled out what was in the file cabinet, it was 2 9mm guns. Now they were safe. They had been disabled. And 96% of the kids, more than 200 kids, 226, I think, kids that went in there, 96% of the kids found the guns. They explored and found them.
Yeah, curious minds of kids find just about anything. But we want to back that up. Before they put those kiddos in that playroom, in a laboratory that they'd converted to a playroom. And by the way, that playroom was laced with like hidden cameras, and their parents, who'd all signed off on this, were watching this from another room. What they did is they split these 226 kids in half a week before, and they sit half of the group down and have them watch a car safety video. Doesn't have anything to do with guns or gun violence or what to do if you find a gun. So that's the car safety video group. That's half of those 226 kids. Meanwhile, the other half of the kids sit down and watch a very simply produced gun safety video that has, you can see a chief of police in uniform talking about what to do around guns. It is less than a minute, right, Dave? This video is about less than a minute. We're going to listen to it now, and then we're going to talk about the results from the kids who watched the gun safety video when they were put in that toy room compared to the kids who watched the car safety video when they were put in that same toy room.
I am here today to discuss gun safety. First and foremost, guns are not toys and are not to be played with. If a child finds a real gun, they should not pick it up or move it. Instead, find an adult and tell them where it is located. Do not bring guns to school. If you see or hear of a gun at a school, tell a teacher or the school police officer. Likewise, even toy guns could be dangerous. Never pretend that a toy gun is real. And most importantly, always follow the directions of a police officer.
Simple. I mean, incredibly simple. In fact, there was no video of guns in this video. There was no demonstration. It was just the police chief standing and speaking to the camera. And you could hear this is not like a dynamically produced video, but it was incredibly effective.
Yeah, so a week later, then they set up this lab with all these toys and games inside, and then they send these kids in. And remember, there's the car safety video group. That's all they saw was a car safety video. And then there's the gun safety video group. And Ohio State University, Dave, reports that the key finding was the difference between those who watched the gun safety versus the car safety. And those who watched the gun safety were more than 3 times more likely to tell an adult and less likely by far to touch a gun.
So they'll tell an adult. They're less likely to touch a gun. They found that they were less reckless if they did start picking up the gun. They were less reckless with the gun. They held it for fewer seconds.
A lot fewer. I think we should tell our listeners how much. 100 seconds. If you watch the car safety video, the kids would hold the gun for 100 seconds. If they watched the gun safety video, they held it, if they did pick it up, for 42 seconds.
And here's a chilling number. They were less likely to pull the trigger. Now, 9% that saw the video, or it was 9 versus 30%, those that saw the video. But I was still shocked to find out a third of the kids would pull the trigger anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
it wasn't the video, watching the gun safety video wasn't a guarantee
right.
that a child was going to mishandle the unloaded gun or, the gun that they'd put in there. as bait for these kids. So it wasn't a guarantee.
Right.
But more likely, those kids who watched the gun safety video were much safer.
But still, 1 in 10 of the kids, even the kids that watched the gun safety video, would pull the trigger. Yeah. Now, do you think those kids knew whether or not it was loaded or unloaded? They still pulled the trigger, which speaks to how often these tragedies happen, because the curiosity, even for kids that had seen a safety video, they will still pull the trigger.
What did this experiment say to you as a dad?
This was, to me, the bare minimum of safety precautions. And if this nothing video, quite honestly, I looked at them like, this is a nothing video. If even that was effective, how much more effective would it be if we had a real effective training video or one-on-one class for kids that could teach them? If this nothing video is effective, I can't help but think that we could figure out a more robust, intense, and effective way of teaching our kids.
It was such a simple video. It really was, less than a minute. And all it was a chief of police speaking directly through the camera to this group of kids, 100 some odd kids, ages 8 to 12 years old. And remember, a week had gone by from the time they watched that video to the time they entered that lab that was set up as a toy room. And it was still effective for a lot of those kids.